Good morning. It is now 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 57 degrees right now, and we are headed to a sunny high of 86. And the full forecast with traffic is coming up in just 5 minutes. Well, the manhunt for the alleged shooter along Interstate 75 in Kentucky on Saturday is resuming this morning.
This was not road rage. They say that it was something that was calculated and planned, but the victims have been random. He's abandoned his weapon. It appears that he's abandoned his car. And now he's in this really rugged, remote terrain, and we don't really know that he has many resources. Also, this makes the search hard as well. They said Saturday night they went until about 3 a.m, but ultimately had to call it off because, frankly, it was just so dark out there that it wasn't safe.
ABC's Alex Pressay there. So far, investigators have found a car and a weapon belonging to the suspect, Joseph Couch. 12 victims were struck, 12 vehicles were struck. 5 people were wounded, and all of them are expected to be okay. The local search for a missing Nashville woman continues. 23-year-old Blanca Oriana, last seen August 18th, leaving her apartment on Old Hickory Boulevard in Antioch. She was supposed to be headed to Murfreesboro to visit with her stepfather. Now, Blanca is 5'2", weighs 120 pounds with brown eyes and brown hair. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. Beetlejuice opened at the top of the box office this weekend.
My mom grew up here, that old house on the hill.
Wait, the ghost house? Is your mom Lydia Dietz?
Unfortunately.
She's a legend.
The sequel to Tim Burton's 1988 horror comedy brought in $110 million. Deadpool and Wolverine placed second. And then that Reagan movie with Dennis Quaid, the biopic about the 40th U.S. president, that one continues to beat expectations, climbing to the ranks of third place in its second weekend. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Daria Albinger.
Stocks plunged on a worrisome job report. The Dow gave up 410 points. The S&P fell 95, down for the fourth day in a row in its worst week of the year. And the Nasdaq closed down 437 points, its worst week since 2022. Tech stocks took the brunt of the drop. Nvidia among the companies pulling the markets lower on worries that its prices soared too high in the boom around artificial intelligence. Now, that job report, it was considered by many experts to be the most important one of the year, and it came in weak enough to continue the concerns about the economy. Employers created 142,000 jobs. That was fewer than the 160,000 predicted, but it was far more than the dismal 114,000 added in July. It's exactly the kind of weakness that the Federal Reserve says is necessary to stifle high inflation, and analysts say it could encourage the Fed to cut interest rates when it meets later this month.
And the Dow futures this morning are up 228. S&P futures gaining 35. NASDAQ futures are plus 154. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, it's all about construction this morning. The road is closed this morning, 2nd Avenue between DeMonbrian Street and Union Street. That's a construction project going on. And the long-term road construction on I-40 between International Airport and Donaldson Pike, that continues this morning as well. Otherwise, everything is looking rather good so far this morning. Joan Jones, WTN News.
Information fueled,
opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 W10. Good morning to your friends. Welcome on in. Monday. I've had what do they call it? Is it the Sunday scaries because of Monday?
Yes.
So literally on Friday, I had the Friday scaries, the Saturday scaries, and the Sunday scaries because I was sort of dreading this moment where here we are Monday morning again, the day before the debate. And I got to tell you, I cannot wait. My day has been made by Erin. Now, Erin is one of my favorite listeners, and she sends me all kinds of stuff. She sent me this audio. I just tweeted it out. You can follow me on @Dan Show. It's Kamala Harris. She's literally walking through the door of this spice shop to find some random woman crying. And this is what it sounds like.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about?
This woman is crying. And so Harris walks in. She finds this woman crying. And so she walks up to the woman. Oh, what's this about? And they hug.
Oh, come here. What is that about?
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like when I come in and my dog is waiting for me when I come through the door. That's what this sounds like. It is cringeworthy.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about?
Crying.
I think you understand. I'm pretty sure you know. Oh, it's going to be good. We're going to be good. We're going to be fine.
We're
gonna
afraid
be
you're
fine.
coming
We
in.
are all in this together. Yes,
We're all in this together. What is this?
Gosh.
Oh, man.
Please go see the video on my Twitter feed @Dan Mandis Show.
We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We are all in this together.
Yes, we are.
We're going to be fine.
We are.
Yes.
Why are you crying?
Yeah, I thought you'd be crying because you were afraid she's going to get in again.
I don't understand why she's crying. I mean, look, if Kamala Harris wanted to come up and hug me, I probably would weep too. But I just don't understand why I don't know. Why is she crying?
Does that audio not explain why the woman is crying?
No.
Oh, gosh.
It's just random.
We are. Yes, we are. Did you get some spices today? You did? Oh, it's all good. It's all good. We're standing strong.
We're standing strong. It's all going to be okay. We're all going to have joy.
Oh, gosh. Boy,
Now, Joan, in answer to your question, the reason this woman is crying is because she is a Democrat operative and she was giving acting lessons. They may have had her sniff an onion to get the tears going so that when Kamala walks in, they can have this embracing moment. Because, for Kamala Harris, I don't know if you folks noticed, I watched a little football over the weekend. Not sure if anybody else did, but she's putting some of that, $404 million to good use. Because all watching the football games, it was all about Kamala Harris, and she's out there saying now that we can all be unified. And we're not all going to be, fighting each other anymore. It's all going to be okay. And so you'll notice that with that cringy video of Kamala Harris walking into this spice shop to find this random woman crying so that they can, cameras, by the way, always at the ready, which is always
convenient.
Yes.
Always convenient.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so you're going to walk in. It's like Joe Biden. When Joe Biden walks into the gas station, right? So you've got a diverse crew there. You've got black, white, Hispanic, Asian. You've got all the right groups there. And he'll walk in and they'll say, okay, Joe, So behind the counter, you're going to find the little black kid, and you're going to give him a 25% tip. You're going to ask him for ice cream, or it's all just so contrived. Yeah. And that's what this is, too. It is all so contrived. And again, they can't even pull this off because it sounds like Kamala's calling a dog.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about?
So John, if you ever come in and you're weeping, I'll just, I'll put on my Kamala, what is this about voice.
Let me rub your belly.
You know what?
I don't want to witness, all right? Just saying early on in this conversation, don't want to witness it.
No.
All right, fine. Anyway, so you can find that. And that's part of what because have you noticed that she's trying to find, she's trying to get some sort of a message. She's trying to land on a message. And so her latest message is, we can't be divided anymore. That's what this video is all about, where this woman walks in, Kamala walks in, and this woman is just crying in the middle of this spice shop. Yeah. And it is ridiculous. And that's part of the news cycle today. I find that if people are falling for this, it's rather ridiculous. And by the way, talking about this spice shop, this is what's interesting, is that she's, trying to bring the country together by visiting this specific spice shop where they're trying to bring the country together. That, by the way, is her latest goal, is to bring everybody together. This is her at the spice shop, and she's talking about the divisiveness in America. Listen.
Look, it's time to turn the page on the divisiveness.
Okay, so that's where she's at now. It is time to turn the page on all of this divisiveness. Now, here's the thing. This particular spice shop is vehemently anti-Republican. This is what they say. This is I pulled this from a couple of different places. Republicans, they say, this is from the Spice Shop's website. Republicans, they can shop elsewhere. Going forward, we would still be glad to have you as customers, but we're done pretending the Republican Party's embrace of cruelty, racism, COVID, lies, climate change, denial, and threats to democracy are anything other than the risks they legitimately are. Now, this is a spice shop in Pittsburgh that Kamala Harris has visited to try to show that she wants to bring the country together. This spice shop in Pittsburgh hates Republicans and basically is telling Republicans, yeah, you know what? Y'all are a bunch of liars. You're election deniers, you're climate change deniers, you're COVID deniers, you're cruel, and you're racist. But Kamala Harris says,
look, it's time to turn the page on the divisiveness.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to turn the page on the divisiveness by going to a spice shop that hates Republicans. Place is called, by the way, Penzies Spices. Penzies recently launched an advertisement campaign for their Justice Spice blend, directed at former President Donald Trump, saying, re-indicted and it feels so good. Penzies Spices CEO Bill Penzi is no stranger to controversy.
It's time to bring our country together.
Right. It's time to bring our country together. In 2022, he came under fire for renaming Martin Luther King Jr. Day to Republicans Are Racist Day. That's what he did. Changed Martin Luther King Jr. Day to Republicans Are Racist Day. The Spice brand lost about 40,000 subscribers in January of 2022, according to the Penzies Spices Facebook page. For this particular stunt, they, of course, did not offer an apology. But again, according to Kamala Harris, what she wants to do.
Look, it's time to turn the page on the divisiveness.
So there you go. By visiting an incredibly divisive spice shop in Pittsburgh, it's all just, all of this seems like, what would you call it? It's like a big play. You know what I mean? It's like a movie. It's like they're trying to create something with Kamala Harris. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's working. And if you look at the polling as to where it is today, clearly it's not working. I'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Just one problem this morning. It's a crash at Hermitage Avenue. It's westbound just past Driftwood Street. There is an injury involved in that crash this morning. That's right under Route 24. Be careful. It could take you some time to get through that. And otherwise, we just have construction this morning. Road crews starting to pick things up. Traffic every 10 minutes mornings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. By the way, we'll talk about where in the world is Jack Womack coming up during the 5:35 Gang of Three here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Super Text line is also open, 615-737-9986. So it does seem like panic is now beginning to set in over at the Harris campaign. And see, that's why, as they are in desperate search of a message that is going to land, I think they're trying whatever they can to throw up against the wall to find something that will stick. And of course, again, right now, it's all about trying to end the divisiveness, which, by the way, she is continuing to be divisive at every turn. But here's what's going on. There's a headline. Donald Trump pulls ahead of Harris in a major national poll, a New York Times poll, showing that Donald Trump is leading Kamala Harris by, they say, a slight margin. Now, remember, though, and this is what's important. This is the New York Times. Here's the high points or the highlights, because I don't want to get into all of the granular, because I know that most of you are very cynical about these polls. But they say that Donald Trump, and by the way, I am as well, Donald Trump is ahead of Kamala Harris by 1 point, according to the New York Times. Now, the reason why this is so intriguing to me is because the New York Times is incredibly favorable of the Democrats and Kamala Harris. So for them to come out, they must have had to, choke on their own poll, right? Harris is ahead. I should say Trump is ahead of Harris by 1 point, 48 to 47%. That is within the margin of error. When voters are leaning to third-party candidates, Donald Trump ends with 2 points, ends up 2 points ahead of Kamala Harris. And they're all saying the same thing. It is about the economy. Now, most people believe that Donald Trump would handle the economy better. Everybody knows that. Same with immigration. Kamala Harris gets better marks on abortion. But when it comes to immigration, when it comes to the economy, Donald Trump is still doing incredibly well. And so I think that part of, and I've been calling this for over a week, outside of the DNC ends, you've got all of this sugar high, right, of Kamala Harris, and, Oprah Winfrey is out there selling joy and the rest of that BS. Now, the DNC is over. She is officially the candidate. She still has nothing to say. That's the problem. How panicked is the left on all of this? Don Lemon is actually now, I kid you not, like a homeless guy just mumbling. Don Lemon is walking the streets of New York begging Taylor Swift to come through and tell the Swifties to help Kamala Harris.
Taylor Swift needs to step forward. She's very influential, can move an election. Right. She believes in women's reproductive rights and a woman's right to choose, and in democracy. I would say that Taylor Swift, come through, Taylor, be a wasted opportunity if she does not use her platform for good.
I mean, wow, Don, stop begging, man. You got to stop begging. I mean, that's embarrassing. Don, that's embarrassing. But see, to me, when you watch these interviews and when you watch, again, Don Lemon babbling as he's walking around the streets of New York, it's clear that they're worried. By the way, more bad news for Kamala Harris on the polling front. 538's Nate Silver, and yes, he is the guy that predicted that Hillary would soundly beat Donald Trump in 2016. Well, he is now out, and he is now saying that Harris is going to lose in a blowout to Donald Trump a day before the debate. He shows Donald Trump ahead in all the battleground states, and again, realize he did get it wrong big time in 2016. But Nate Silver, he had been forecasting a Harris victory until August 29th when she had that disastrous CNN interview. And I think that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that she's not saying anything. Kamala Harris isn't really saying anything. She's not really doing any interviews. And all we're seeing of Kamala Harris is these really cringeworthy moments.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about?
And nobody's buying it. As this woman is just randomly walking up to Kamala Harris crying.
Good. We're going to be fine.
We're going to be fine. We're going to be good.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are. Yes, we
Does
are.
anybody?
Yes, we are.
Does anybody believe this is sincere?
You did?
I would like. Did you get some spices? Oh, and she does. She sounds like she's like scratching a dog behind the ears.
Hey, little fella. Good girl.
I don't know. Here's more of Don Lemon begging Taylor Swift to come out for Kamala Harris.
I think more power to Taylor Swift. I think those opportunities and those types of people only come along very rarely. And so I think I say more power to her.
All right, so again, quit begging, Don. So there is a lot to talk about today. We'll get into all of this and a whole lot more straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7, 521, and Joan Jones. What's coming up in the news at 5:30?
Well, let's see. We've got the search for a suspect in a Kentucky highway shooting. That search resumes this morning. Also, a local fisherman finds a dead body in a local river. Coming up at 5:30 this morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 522, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. How do you know who you can trust financially? You know, we've seen roughly 30 to 40 lawsuits against insurance companies for trying to sell inappropriate deferred annuities to our elderly. In other words, they're trying to rip off the elderly. Now, this is inappropriate deferred annuities that really ultimately, a lot of folks say, is designed to rip off our older folks. These investments are often pushed on TV, dinner workshops, radio, and often have crazy high expenses. They do pay high commissions. They get low returns. And yes, they're typically hard to get out of. It doesn't really make any sense, actually. But this is happening, and older folks are getting ripped off. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to your parents or grandparents. Call my guy, Paul Winkler, and his team. Now, these are the people that I trust, and when you sit down with them, you're going to realize why. They are looking out for your best interest. Paul Winkler is looking out for your best interest. Not these other companies, but Paul Winkler is. Now, I do have to disclose that I'm paid for these ads, but I'm also a real-time client of Paul Winkler's, have been for 10 years a client of Paul Winkler's. Now, he is somebody that I trust with my money. Been working with him again for over a decade now. So call Paul Winkler. Check him out, paulwinkler.com. 615-851-1950 is the phone number. 615-851-1950 for Paul Winkler, paulwinkler.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good morning. It's now 5:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Sunny and much warmer today. Your forecast and traffic is coming up. Police are picking up the manhunt for Joseph Couch this morning. He is believed to have used an AR-15 to shoot into moving traffic on I-75 in Kentucky over the weekend, hitting 12 cars and injuring 5 people.
They found this silver Toyota RAV4 on a Forest Service access road near the highway and learned that it belonged to this guy, Joseph Couch. And also in the woods, they found an AR-15 style weapon and some fully loaded magazines. They believe that where that AR-15 was is where Couch, now their suspect in this, sat as he shot at cars passing by on the highway.
Now, police say that the terrain where they believe Couch is hiding is rough, and they say they need machetes to cut through the brush to find him. There's more information today on the shooting at the Georgia high school last week where 4 people were killed.
The suspect's aunt says his mother had called a school counselor the morning of the shooting to warn them about an extreme emergency. The Washington Post first to report that the suspect's mother texted her sister saying she had told the school counselor to go immediately and find her son to check on him. According to the suspect's aunt, the call was made nearly half an hour before the shooting.
That's ABC's Allison Kosick reporting. An SUV was hit by a train on the tracks in Greenbrier yesterday. This happened in the afternoon at the crossing between Highway 41 and Old Greenbrier Pike. The SUV was pushed into a ditch by the force of the moving train. Amazingly, the driver, who was the only person in the car, was not injured. And a body has been recovered from the Cumberland River, and Metro Nashville police are called around 6:30 last night after a man fishing along the banks of the river spotted the body. It was in the area of Cowan and Vashti Streets in East Nashville. Police have not yet identified the body. Stock futures on the plus side this morning. The Dow futures are up 256 points. S&P futures are gaining 41. The NASDAQ futures up 176. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. Appreciate it. Back to school time. My friends United Structural Systems knows that new school clothes and supplies can be expensive, so they're offering a great back-to-school promotion. They're going to offer you 10% off of any job over $2,500, along with special financing options as well. No payments and no interest for an entire year. That's what I love about United Structural Systems. Now, you know, they can fix your foundation, help you with waterproofing and concrete leveling, to name just a few. Now, they've been helping Middle Tennesseans for over 30 years. Now, don't forget that great deal. 10% off of any job over $2,500. Along with special financing options as well. No payments and no interest for an entire year. USS is the company that has helped me with my foundation. They are the company I trust and have trusted for years. I'm a client of USS, and yes, I do endorse them highly. Call them, mention my name, and you're going to get those great specials. Back to school special, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. We guarantee our best. Call USS, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
So just one spot to be concerned about at this hour. Hermitage Avenue westbound just past Driftwood Street. It's a crash involving some injuries. Been there for a little while, but they're working on cleaning that up now. That's your traffic. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
.537, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends, along with Johnny B, Joan Jones, Dan Mandis here for a Monday. And it sounds like Joan and Johnny, that Murfreesboroians, people who live in Murfreesboro, they actually have a new neighbor. Casey Anthony.
Oh, get out of town.
Has moved to Middle Tennessee.
Well, how about that?
Now, does everybody remember who Casey Anthony is?
Yeah, this is a good time to give a little primer on who she is.
Yes.
Back in 2008, she was accused of killing her little daughter, Kaylee. Remember this?
Yes.
This was a major, major thing. Kaylee, 2 years old, it all started with a 911 call from Casey Anthony's mother, little Kaylee's grandmother, and she said that Casey had been missing for a month. Then she found Casey, but little Kaylee, Casey's daughter, was nowhere to be found. But she did discover something horrific.
There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
The calls spark a media frenzy and an investigation that takes several twists and turns.
Yeah, this was one of those early trial of the centuries type of stories and thousands of collective hours of media coverage and analysis. Casey Anthony was young at the time. I think she was 22. Some would say attractive. And this trial was absolutely insane. She was out there, as the trial continued, she was out partying for like a month before she actually reported that her daughter Kaylee was missing. The body was eventually found near her parents' property. She was proven to have lied multiple times throughout the trial, but the jury didn't seem to care.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
So she basically, she got away with... Walked away.
Scot-free.
Scot-free. Now, part of me will say, listen, she had a trial, jury of her peers and all that.
Yes.
And so you would say that she went through all the process and, she was found not guilty. I believe that this is a case of OJ not guilty.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the only one that's ever coined that phrase. I can't be. But, that's what it feels like and it always felt like that with Casey Anthony, is that there was ample evidence, I thought, to convict. However, the jury didn't take that into account or didn't believe that there was ample enough evidence to convict, and they found her not guilty. It was crazy. So now, Joan, you've been doing the news for a long time. You remember how insane that was.
I do. And I remember how, it was covered. It was wall-to-wall coverage all the time. Everybody had cameras out. Every news organization had cameras out. Wherever Casey Anthony went, there was a camera. And she didn't ever look like she was sorrowful, missing her daughter. She just never appeared to be that mom that would be completely devastated by the death of her daughter.
Yeah, she was out partying for a month.
Yeah.
That was more important to her. That was more important. And if she wasn't found guilty of murder, she is definitely guilty of abandoning her child.
Yeah, and she blamed, if you folks remember, and if you don't, she initially blamed, if I remember right, the nanny. She blamed the nanny, and she said that she was out looking for Kaylee for a month. And then the mom said, it smells like a dead body was in her car. She was convicted of lying to the police, but again, really not what she was charged with. Ultimately, she was charged with, yes, lying to the police, but all of these other charges related to the death of Kaylee. And she just got away with it. And I don't know. There was some sort of a documentary, I think about a year or two ago, where she blamed her father, if I'm not mistaken.
I can still picture her mom and dad sitting on a sofa talking about this and how heartbroken they were. But the not the best part, but the kind of the kicker to the story is that allegedly, let me already set this up. Allegedly, she's in the borough because she's dating a married man. They both worked at a gym together. Is that the story? They both worked at a gym together.
Either they worked at the gym together in Florida.
Yes.
Or they were going to the gym together. They were on a group text. Then that texting became just one-on-one. Now,
the guy throws out his family.
Yeah, well,
after 20 years.
Yeah.
So, dude's been married for 20 years. He and the wife moved to Middle Tennessee. The wife apparently goes back to Florida to see family, and that's when apparently Casey came out here and used that as an opportunity to apparently continue with the relationship with the married man that began out there in Florida. So now he has left his wife and the two adult children. Those two, Casey, Anthony, and Dude, they are together and living in Murfreesboro. And people are absolutely freaking out about this. One person posted, "You mean someone let Casey Anthony live that close to a school?"
She's getting no love at all. There's a Facebook page for Murfreesboro, and I belong to it. And I'm telling you, nobody is happy that she's there.
Another guy says, "Would you rather be alone in Stones River Town Center with a Murfreesboro bear or Casey Anthony?" Another one, "Are the rumors true? Is there actually a monster living amongst us?" Listen, I get it. I mean, but what are you going to do? I mean, she was found not guilty.
Right.
And so if you folks in Murfreesboro, like if you see her in Kroger, I mean, what do you do? You walk up to her and like throw a lemon at her? I mean, what do you do? Because you're right, people are not happy.
No.
Would they even recognize her? I mean, honestly, she doesn't have like a very distinguished look or anything. She just looks very normal.
Yeah, I was talking to Johnny before the show. I wouldn't recognize Casey Anthony if she came up and said hello.
Even if I did, I'm not going to engage with her in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to be around her. I'm in a point where I really don't care. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Until she does it, which, this is bad if she's broken up a marriage that was 20-year marriage. I mean, that just shows the character of the woman.
Yeah, but let's also not forget takes two to tango.
Yeah, it does. And it shows the character of the husband.
That's exactly right. So I don't know how... One of the things I find interesting, and this has always been, and Johnny, you'd know more about this than I would, but Nashville has always been sort of like, there are a lot of stars walking around, and so you just kind of leave them alone. We don't really have a paparazzi per se, do we? I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
So I think one of the things, if Nashville stays sort of true to its character, Casey Anthony will be able to just live and do what she does, whatever that is. Just, you know what? Don't let her babysit your kids.
Exactly. I think if she were living in Nashville...
And ladies, don't let her around your husbands.
No.
Clearly not.
But no, I think if she lived in Nashville, it'd be a different story. But she's in Murfreesboro, and if she starts going to some of these smaller communities and they recognize her, I think she'll get some taunts.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. If someone recognizes her, that's the whole thing. I wouldn't recognize her if I saw her.
Right.
I would probably recognize her now that I've seen a recent photo. But before this, I mean, I wouldn't have known. I don't even know, where was it first reported that she was living in Tennessee? Do we even know? Like, it just kind of exploded over the weekend.
The first place I saw it was on that Murfreesboro Facebook page.
I think it was even in the New York Times, believe it or not.
Was it really?
Yep.
I saw it on an Alabama website.
On an Alabama?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Why does this get so much attention? I mean, honestly.
Here's what I want to know from the super text line. especially for you folks in Murfreesboro, because I also saw that she spent some time in Spring Hill. I have no idea. But what would you do if you saw Casey Anthony? You going to walk up to her if she's in, some bar or, some grocery store or whatever? You going to start yelling at her? I mean, again, she went through the process.
Yes.
She was found not guilty. There's nothing else you can say. I wouldn't engage with O.J. Simpson. I'm not going to engage with Casey Anthony and the jury and the prosecutors. Everyone had their shot.
Exactly.
And she was found not guilty. So, that's sort of my official talk show host opinion on it is live and let live. I'm not thrilled that she's in Middle Tennessee. A lot of people in Murfreesboro are freaking out, but, it really doesn't impact your life, does it?
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
As long as you don't let her watch your kids, I think she's not going to affect your life in any way.
We have a lot of things to worry about around these parts and around this country that Casey Anthony is not.
Hey, can I ask a separate question? Is Hollywood completely out of ideas?
I think so.
Here's why I ask.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Now, I didn't see it, much to my wife's annoyance.
Yeah.
We didn't see it this weekend. We're now officially 3 movies behind. So we didn't go see Beetlejuice. But now Goonies from the 80s. Now, I'm going to admit, I never saw Goonies. Johnny, were you a Goonies fan?
No.
Joan, you never saw Goonies?
No.
So this bit means nothing. We probably should have spoken about this beforehand. It does. It does feel like Hollywood is out of ideas because they keep regurgitating the same stuff.
They do, and it's getting, I want some fresh ideas. I'm tired of the retread.
Do you know what the good ideas are, to be honest? It's Netflix.
Yes.
Like Netflix, there is really good stuff on Netflix. And, I'm a binge watcher, and I'm...
Okay, so let me ask you this. I know it's not on Netflix, at least I don't think, but have you ever watched Only Murders in the Building?
No, but my wife, she has been on me to watch that for like a long time.
Okay, so we started to watch it this weekend. I think we got through 3 episodes. And it's silly. It's silly, and you would think it would be because it's Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of engaging. Like I like it. And I'm not really one of those people that likes binge watching.
And it's a movie about murders that were committed in the building, apparently.
It starts off with one murder, and it's actually about the Martin Short and Steve Martin character, along with, what's her name? I'll think of her name. They start a podcast about murders in the building.
Okay.
Selena Gomez, who is now a billionaire, by the way.
I saw that.
Yes.
Wow.
A billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, good for her.
Yeah, she's very smart. But yeah, they start a podcast about this murder in the building, and I'm sure it's subsequent seasons go to other murders, but it's pretty interesting.
I think there's far more creative things going on right now on Netflix than you'll see at the movie theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all of the really creative things that are out right now. And then there's just the plain old corny, like, the Cobra Kai.
Yes.
That is really corny.
That is corny.
But you know what? You watch it.
It's entertaining.
It is entertaining. But you look at a lot of the different things that are on Netflix. I got to tell you that right now, the way that Hollywood is, do you really think that they would approve a project with Steve Martin and Martin Short? Hollywood would not.
No.
Netflix would.
Yes.
And so that's the whole point.
Do you guys, either of you watch Hallmark?
My wife does.
Okay. I knew I liked her.
Which in turn, sometimes I end up.
Of course you do.
Watching Hallmark.
I don't watch Hallmark proudly.
Come on.
I don't watch Hallmark.
Not even at Christmas time.
I fall asleep.
Not really, no. No, you know what? To be honest, Joan, since they took Fabio off, I just don't watch anymore.
Fabio, really? Didn't that happen in like 1970? Really?
1970s, 1980s was when Fabio was.
Oh my gosh!
But all the Hallmark movies are the same.
They are. It's wonderful.
Wow.
It's don't you? I mean the romance, the romance, and the snow, the fake snow, but the snow. Like, come on.
The thing that I find weird about Hallmark is like they have all the same actresses playing in all these different movies. And to be honest, I get confused.
Yes.
Like before I met Amy, I was with somebody who used to like to watch all those movies. And that one didn't last very long because I couldn't handle all the Hallmark. And I couldn't.
Really? You broke up over Hallmark?
I couldn't. Oh, it's a
whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Wasn't just Hallmark.
It would just,
it just added to it.
It just added to it. You know what? Try being a guy and living up to the Hallmark, plot line.
Okay, so now we know why. Now we know why you don't watch Hallmark.
Sure.
You feel
small and inefficient.
There you go.
And inefficient. Insecure.
And small.
Moving right along. This took a weird turn. Joan, what's coming up in the news at 6?
Well, we'll tell you what's being done to find the man who went on a shooting spree along a Kentucky highway over the weekend. Also, there's a new call to conserve water as our dry streak around here continues. Those stories at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 5:52, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. You know how much I love the Glock store, right? It's where I buy my guns, my ammo, and my accessories as well. And it is where I learned to shoot, and it is where I continue to train today. Now, you know the training at the Glock store, it's great because every session is a private lesson in private rooms, not public lanes. They also do parties at the Glock store. We've been telling you about the bachelor parties going on, birthday parties, retirement. They even do corporate team building as well. Parties will include a VIP room with a full kitchen, dedicated shooting rooms with instructors, and shooting activities designed for every level. They include ammo and even full auto options too. So you want to check them out. To get your party started, call 615-682-6565. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out and they can start planning a customized party just for your needs. The Glock store is my place to shoot and to party, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. 5:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, folks wondering, where's Jack Womack? Jack got a high flute and weather job somewhere, and he's going to be doing that full time.
Good for him.
I'm very happy for Jack. Yeah. He came in for a hug trying to say goodbye. I told him, let's not get carried away. I'm just kidding.
You're not a hugger?
No.
No, he tenses up when the shoulders go up.
You know what, Joan, if you ever come to one of our events, you'll see how not a hugger I am, how much of a non-hugger I am.
Especially when a big old cowboy wants to hug you.
Although, to be honest with you, I'm a lot better than I was.
You
are. I actually, to be perfectly honest, these days I'm not as much of a non-hugger as I used to be.
My wife forced you to hug.
She sure did.
Yes.
Love that. I have to say, that's kind of a challenge, knowing that you're not a hugger.
Oh, my Lord.
When I see you in a public space, I'm probably going to make a big deal out of it.
The Hug Mandis challenge at the debate party tomorrow night. That's probably going to become a thing.
You know what I'd like? I'd like for someone to do that, a lot of people to do it, and send pictures.
Wow, she's just upping the...
Who the heck hired you, woman?
You did, Dan.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Mandis strikes again. All right. Good luck to Womack. 5:58 WTN.
Six o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones. We've got some sunshine headed our way today, and temperatures rising back up into the mid-80s. The full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. The manhunt for the suspect in a series of highway shootings along Interstate 75 in Kentucky on Saturday. The manhunt will resume this morning. Kentucky State Police spokesman Scotty Pennington says the search area is in a dense forest.
We went in and searched when you say large area, for walking in a jungle, because that's what you're basically in, it's a large area. I mean, you actually need machetes and everything to get through these thickets of woods.
Investigators have found a car and an AR-15 type rifle that they believe was used in the shooting near London, Kentucky, that injured 5 people. There are new claims that the mother of the student who killed 4 people at his Georgia high school last week called the school to warn officials about her son. Meantime, the victims were remembered this weekend. ABC's Allison Kosick.
Take a moment of silence.
Outside Atlanta last night, a vigil to remember the 4 lives lost during last week's shooting at Appalachia High School.
This is home.
In attendance, parents like Brian Jones, still shaken after getting a message from his daughter during school last Wednesday.
Text was, "Daddy, there's a shooter, an actual shooter."
She survived, but 2 classmates and 2 teachers did not.
Here in Tennessee, with the return of sunny and hot weather comes another reminder that we haven't had much rain lately. Residents of Spring Hill are being asked now to conserve water, so no watering lawns or washing cars. The Duck River watershed is seen to be in extreme drought conditions right now. Officials say the water supply is inadequate for wildlife. There may be more restrictions on the way later this week if conditions don't improve. A new report says that Elon Musk is on pace to become the world's first trillionaire in just a few years. Meantime, his focus is on traveling to Mars within the next 2 years and possible flights with people on board to Mars in 4 years.
Musk says his goal is to build a self-sustaining city in about 20 years.
So I think we want to do everything we can to make sure that Earth is going to be great for a long time, as long as possible.
As for now, SpaceX is focused on its next mission, the first ever spacewalk by a private company, launching as soon as tomorrow.
That's ABC's Rhiannon Alley. Market Numbers Report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures jumping this morning as Wall Street tries to recover some of the steep losses suffered last week when the August jobs report stoked fears of a slowing labor market. Futures are on the plus side pretty sharply this morning. Dow futures are up 260. The S&P futures are gaining 36, and the NASDAQ futures plus 143. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, we've got one accident with a left lane block. This is on the eastbound side of I-24 this morning. It's at Whites Creek Pike. That's exit 35. And then another accident at Harding Place at Metroplex Drive. That one was reported by police. That's causing some delays as well. Other than that, traffic's looking good so far around the Nashville region. Joan Jones, WTN News.
Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
6:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in, along with Joan Jones, Johnny B. Dan Mandis here indeed. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube, among many other places. You can also stream us anywhere, anytime with all of the various apps. You can find all the links to everything at 997WTN.com. Coming up at 6:35, a harrowing tale out of Springfield, Ohio, having to do with illegal aliens, Haitians, and what they're doing to Springfield. I'm going to bring you that story coming up at 6:35 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I loved the conversation over the weekend. Dana Bash and Tom Cotton, and they spoke about a lot of different things. And I got to tell you that the more that Dana Bash speaks, I got to be honest, the more cringeworthy it becomes. And you remember the story that I brought you on Friday, where there is a Nashville-based company called Tenant Media, and they bring, used to anyway, I don't know if they're still running, but they brought you conservative commentators on social media. Benny Johnson, for example, Dave Rubin, and Tim Pool, to name just a few. And it turns out, as the story goes, that the Russians and Vladimir Putin were arranging payment for Tenant Media to stay in business. It is important for you to know that the broadcasters, the podcasters that I just mentioned, some of the most popular Republican or conservative podcasters out there had no idea that this was going on. They even said, the Department of Justice even said that Dave Rubin and Tim Pool and Benny Johnson had no idea that the Russians were giving Tenant Media money. So Dana Bash, I want you to listen to this completely disingenuous question about all of that, because this gave them, the left and the media, the opportunity to start bringing in Vladimir Putin again, trying to help Donald Trump.
I want to turn to a very different topic, and that is something that the Justice Department said this week. They detailed a Russian government effort to stoke divisions in the U.S. using front organizations and social media, prominent right-wing influencers like Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson, who have ties to Tenant Media. Now, that's a company that the Justice Department says was being funded by Russian operatives. You sit on the Intelligence Committee. How worried are you that right-wing influencers, people who do have an impact on your constituents, being funded either directly or indirectly by the Russian government in order to make an impact on this election?
I mean, she's speaking to Tom Cotton, Senator Tom Cotton. Now, if she wanted to be honest, journalistically honest, she would have reported what I just said to you, that the commentators in question didn't know where the money was coming from, had no idea that it was coming from Russia. They even came out after this announcement and said that, you know what, had we known, we wouldn't have worked with this company, and they are horrified by what they have learned. They were also, by the way, in the report actually called victims in all of this. Had no idea that it was being funded by the Russian government. And so they were fooled as well. But, expecting Dana Bash to give full context is expecting too much, I suppose. But funny, too. No question from Dana Bash about the Chinese and how they have clearly infiltrated the Democrat Party. Remember, in New York, they caught a Chinese spy working under the last two Democrat governors there in New York. Not to mention, of course, in the office of Dianne Feinstein years ago, Eric Swalwell, we all know about that. But anyway, so Dana Bash asks the question to Tom Cotton, and I love what he did. He actually shoves it right back in her face.
People should not knowingly take money from the government of Russia or Iran or China or any other adversarial nation to try to influence the election. But I also think it's fair to say that a few memes or videos in the vast sea of political commentary is not going to make much of a difference in this election, nor has it in past elections as well. What did make a difference in the last election is the lies about Hunter Biden's laptop that more than 4 dozen former intelligence officials lied about in the middle of that campaign. And most networks, to include this one, bought that lie hook, line, and sinker. That did make a difference in the election. But I think a few videos or commentaries, which, again, you shouldn't do if you're out there in the business of commentating on elections, is not going to make a difference in the vast sea of commentary we see.
Yeah, as opposed to CNN and all those other media outlets who reported that the laptop from hell was Russian disinformation. So it's almost like with Dana Bash, the lack of self-awareness is stunning, but not all that surprising, given the fact that they try to bury that whole Russian laptop disinformation story whenever they can. I mean, they've never apologized. I don't even know if CNN has ever actually acknowledged their role in helping Joe Biden in the election of 2020. But they clearly did. I love this piece written by David Marcus. It's written for Fox News. And the headline is, Why Kamala Harris's Press Pool Deserves a Pulitzer Prize. He says, I believe that the Harris Press Pool members should receive a Pulitzer Prize for their unique approach, this election style, in which the candidate is never asked any questions relevant to being president, but rather given the joyous opportunity to simply share her deeply human qualities. Just this weekend in Pittsburgh, we saw the power of this new journalism on display. The stodgy old, and let's face it, mostly white dudes of newspapers past might have been focused on Hersh Goldberg Poland, the American murdered by Hamas, or this week's disappointing job numbers. But instead, notice this gem from a Washington Post writer on Twitter, or X. Kamala just went into Penzeys Spices and bought creamy peppercorn dressing base, Fox Point seasoning, Trinidad lemon garlic marinade, Turkish seasoning, and Tuscan Sunset salt-free Italian seasoning. He wraps it up with saying, Woodward and Bernstein should be proud. It is rather bizarre. And one of the things that I noticed, I did mention this in the 5 o'clock hour, but if you missed it, there was a cringeworthy moment at that very event where she shows up, Kamala Harris shows up to this spice shop, and there's a woman there, some random woman, who is crying as Kamala Harris walks in.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about? I think you understand. I'm pretty sure you know. Oh, it's good.
This is one of the cringiest things. And listen, can we just admit that with cringe Jean-Pierre and Kamala Harris, there has been a lot of cringe over the last 3.5 years. This might be, dare I say, the cringiest thing I've seen in a long time. This is probably cringier, by the way, than Kamala Harris and her fake accents. I want you to go to my X feed, at Dan Mandis Show. The video is there where Harris is literally walking in and this woman is crying.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about?
Oh, my.
You understand? I'm pretty sure you know. Oh, it's going to be good. We're going to be good. We're going to be fine.
And they're hugging.
We're going to be fine. We are all in this together.
I think this woman needs some Prozac. If you were to give this woman some sort of like medication, what would she need? Would it be Prozac? Because she's crying about, I don't know what the hell she's crying about, but she's crying and she runs into the arms of Kamala Harris. And by the way, it's worth noting that there are like 50 cameras at the ready. Lighting was perfect. They made sure that everybody was mic'd up.
We're going to be fine. We are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Did you get some spices today? You did?
Good Lord.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. We're standing.
Oh, my.
I don't know what she needs, but I need a barf bag. Thank you.
So if you, listen, if you think your day's going bad, just, try being this Democrat operative that had to go through this charade at this spice shop in Pittsburgh. Anyway, 6:15, time to check the roads on WTN. All right, at 6:16, Nashville's Morning News, partly sunny today and a high of 85. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yeah, just if you want to go see the video, you can. It is on my Twitter feed, my X feed, at Dan Mandis Show. By the way, we are, of course, as you folks know, we are a day away from the debate. It happens tomorrow. We will, as you know, be broadcasting live. Brian will start at 3, and we'll all be there from 3 to 8 o'clock. Then we'll all watch the debate live, and we will be at Scoreboard, Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet. Details at 997WTN.com. But I love what David Marcus wrote, because it's so baffling, and this was Hillary too, where there's such a lack of policy points. There's such a lack of really any reasoning for the American people to vote for Kamala Harris, because she hasn't given them any reason to vote for her, other than joy, of course. By the way, anybody else notice that woman, the audio that I just played, that is weeping inside of a spice shop? She's not exactly feeling the Oprah joy, is she? But of course, Kamala was there with a nice hug. Here's the thing. The media continues to, by and large, there's some within the media that are actually, doing their job and calling out Kamala Harris. But few of them are calling her out who are actually covering Kamala Harris out on the campaign trail. We joked Thursday and Friday. I mean, it's been an ongoing topic of conversation where she just refuses to speak to the media that is covering her out on the campaign trail. The other day, she was running around and she had the Bluetooth earbuds in, and yet she is also holding the phone up to her ear. I mean, it is such a joke. And so people are just obviously laughing at Kamala Harris. Balloon Hair Bernie, of course, Bernie Sanders, did say the quiet part out loud this weekend on Meet the Press with Kirsten Welker. And here's what he said.
Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
What did he just say? He literally just said that Kamala Harris is saying whatever she needs to say to get elected. I'm going to play that for you one more time.
Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
Wow. I mean, okay. Well, I guess now we all know. Sadly, nobody watches Meet the Press. But in other words, if I'm going to interpret what Balloon Hair Bernie is saying, is that she doesn't really believe a word that she says. She's just saying what she has to do to win. I saw some tweets over the weekend. Apparently now there is absolute panic behind the scenes at the White House and the Harris campaign, because they realize that all of that momentum that Kamala Harris had is gone. It has come to a halt. And they're really worried about tomorrow night, so worried that they're now beginning to downplay whatever her performance may actually be. I thought it was actually kind of funny. You had this moment on a podcast where a bunch of leftists, one of them is Caddy, I think her name's Caddy or Katie K, whatever, Katty. And she admitted, and she's a lefty, she admitted that things are not going well for Kamala Harris. Here's part of what she said.
There's a sense that her August surge, that extraordinary 5 weeks she had, has slowed and hasn't really been reflected in the polls as much as they had hoped it would be. That there would be a clear distinction now, that she would be clearly ahead in all of the swing states. She hasn't become yet what the Trump campaign was fearing that she would become, which is this kind of unstoppable, I think I called it a couple of weeks ago, the transformational candidate.
Nope, she sure hasn't. And it was all, we're all realizing, of course, those of us in talk radio all knew this, that this whole thing was just a hardcore media push. That's what it was. It was a sugar high. But as we know with sugar highs, they always end up coming down. And we know over the weekend, I told you about this in the 5 o'clock hour, that new polling out there, and I'll share this after the news at 6:30, new polling out there actually now shows that Donald Trump is the one that has the momentum, and Kamala Harris, her momentum has slowed to a crawl. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more, and what is happening in Springfield, Ohio. It is horrifying. Yes, it is a migrant story. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here, and fall is officially on the way. The pumpkin spice takeover has begun, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has some great offers right now. They are your Root Pro partner, and man, do have some of these great deals for you. How about a free Wi-Fi thermostat on qualifying new HVAC systems? You can control your HVAC system from anywhere. What about a free whole home air filtration system with the purchase of 2 or more qualifying HVAC systems, or a new HVAC system replacement for as low as $68 a month? Now, this is my HVAC company, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. This is a company that I trust. Remember, being a Beehive member is the best way to keep your systems in tip-top shape all year long. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833. I've been a Beehive member for years. Find them online. It's busybeehvac.com. 623, Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones was coming up in the news at 6:30.
Well, we'll tell you, searchers get to work finding that man who shot into traffic in Kentucky over the weekend. And we'll also tell you how parking at meters in Nashville is about to change. Those stories at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
628, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, coming up next, Haitians in the news. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here with My Patriot Supply. Listen, you ever really sit down and think about what could happen, the disasters that could take away our freedoms and our family? I do, and that's why I keep a 4-week emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply in my home. Now, with My Patriot Supply, it's got everything you need to provide for your family. I do it with my family during a crisis. With over 2,000 calories a day, there's enough to go around, so I'm ready. How about you? What would happen if there is an attack on our homeland? Maybe our government crackdowns. Maybe our grid gets taken out. We really don't know what could happen, but you need to be ready no matter what. Protect your family with emergency food from My Patriot Supply. And now is a great time. You can get $50 off the same 4-week emergency food kit that I've got in my home. And they'll get it to you fast and with free shipping. Now, this food does last up to 25 years. It does taste great and will keep your family alive in times of trouble and despair. Remember, order today at preparewithmandis.com. That's preparewithmandis.com and get $50 off of a 4-week emergency food kit. Free shipping as well. It's going to order fast. Preparewithmandis.com.
Hello there. It's 6:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with the latest news. We're at 54 degrees right now. Maybe you need the jacket this morning. We're heading up, though, to around 85 degrees, and we'll get that forecast for you along with traffic in about 5 minutes. The manhunt resumes this morning in Kentucky to find the man who shot into traffic from the woods, striking a dozen cars and injuring 5 people. Crews will remain scouring dense terrain around the area where a car and an AR-15 believed to have been used in the shootings were located. The Venezuelan politician who challenged dictator Nicolas Maduro has now fled the country in exile.
Venezuela's attorney general detailing the communications and move over the past few days that's allowed Gonzalez to leave the country and be granted asylum by Spain. The departure of the man considered by opposition supporters to be the winner of the July election was announced by Venezuelan officials who just a few days earlier had ordered his arrest. He landed Sunday at a military airport near Madrid, accompanied by his wife and Spanish officials. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
In local news, the work to add turn lanes and improve a pedestrian crossing in Green Hills, it didn't come quickly enough. A pedestrian was struck at the Estes and Hobbs Road intersection. It is a neighborhood where some folks say it's just not safe.
I really feel like I can't walk in my own neighborhood because I'm afraid of getting run over by a car.
The Nashville Department of Transportation was supposed to begin the improvement project in May, but it's been delayed indefinitely. And some changes could be coming to parking meters in Nashville. The proposal from the Traffic and Parking Commission would stretch the amount of time drivers can park at a parking meter from 2 hours to 10 hours. But of course, there's a hitch. The parking rate for hours 3 through 10 would be higher. There would also be designated areas for economy parking rates with a maximum of $20 for 10-hour parking. Those are areas the city feels are underutilized in downtown, Sobro, Edge Hill, and in Midtown. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 6:32, Nashville's morning news. Dan Mandis here. Now is the time to call Cove Generators, because right now they're offering you a free 7-year warranty. That is over $1,000 value from my friends at Cove Generators. So if you've ever wanted a backup home standby generator, now is the time to do it. Plus, great financing options as well. Now, they are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer in the state of Tennessee. So be prepared for the next power outage and call my friends at Cove Generators and never lose power again. That phone number is 931-559-3311. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out and get that free 7-year warranty worth $1,000. Now, my buddy Generator Dave and the entire team at Cove Generators, they are there to answer all your questions about how to keep the power on when outages happen. Cove Generators can also service your Generac automatic standby generators or any brand of generator that you own. Call them, mention my name, Dan Mandis, 931-559-3311. Online, covegenerators.com.
We're looking at the shoulder being blocked on I-24. This is in the eastbound lanes. It's at Whites Creek Pike. That's exit 35. Really no delay in that area. And one accident at Harding Place at Metroplex Drive. That accident reported by police. That's causing a bit of a delay as well. Other than that, roads are looking pretty good this morning. Joan Jones, WTN News.
.637, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. You know there is a debate tomorrow night. And
no way.
Yeah, there is, Joan Jones. There is a debate. It's the one that everybody's talking about.
Everybody.
So throughout the morning, thus far, we've been talking about how Kamala Harris, her team is really worried. I do feel like Donald Trump does have the momentum. I shared with you some polling numbers earlier. We will get back to that. But I want to begin this segment by talking about illegal immigration. Now, you folks know that Donald Trump leads Kamala Harris on illegal immigration by a wide margin because the American people do understand that there are dangers lurking within the conversation about illegal immigration. Everyone knows. But I want to draw a contrast, a compare and contrast between modern day Democrats and Democrats from way back when. And when I'm talking about way back when, I'm literally talking about the 1990s. This is Bill Clinton. This is Bill Clinton talking about illegal immigration way back in the 90s.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws.
I mean, how is it that the Democrat Party allowed Bill Clinton with those wretched, racist, anti-American comments way back in the 90s? How is it they allowed him to speak at the DNC with that kind of a history? I mean, I'm kidding, of course, but that audio, that really hit home the difference between the Democrat Party today and where it was under Bill Clinton.
It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
And the Democrats even stood and applauded. That was during a State of the Union. And so that just shows you how incredibly off-kilter the Democrat Party is right now. Because you went from Bill Clinton saying what he said, which these days would get him canceled. Now, the interesting thing is Kamala Harris, she could say the same thing right now, but it would be completely the opposite of where she was 3.5 years ago. But yet Bill Clinton, and this just shows you the hypocrisy and the two faces of the Democrat Party, because they'll say one thing, but then they'll do something completely different. You know, Bill Clinton, back then he had these, pro-border stance that you just heard. Now, whether or not you buy it or not, whatever. But he had that to say way back when. But these days, he was out there at the DNC telling the American people that they should vote for Kamala Harris, even though she has allowed millions of illegal aliens into this country. Now, in Springfield, Ohio, this is horrifying. So apparently the Biden-Harris administration dropped off 20,000 illegal aliens, a lot of Haitians. Now, this is a town of like 60,000. So how do you, as a town of 60,000, how do you accept or bring in or deal with or handle 20,000 Haitians, 20,000 illegal aliens? It is insane. And you know what else is horrifying? Is that pets are turning up missing. Because apparently the Haitians arrived in Springfield, Ohio, and they were really hungry.
Oh, no.
And so they're eating family pets. So if you've got like an outside cat in Springfield, Ohio, well, odds are that cat has been eaten by a Haitian. They also used to have these really neat ducks at the pond there at the Springfield, Ohio. A lot of really nice ducks. You know how downtowns have ducks in a pond? The Haitians are going to the pond, grabbing the ducks, pulling the heads off, and eating them. That's what's happening in Springfield, Ohio. Now, this dude is in Springfield, and he's gone to the city council, and this is what he says.
I think it's like kind of odd that like a guy like me has to come out from doing what I do on a daily basis to have fun, because I see what's going on in these streets, and I see you guys just sitting up there in them comfy chairs and suits, and like I really challenge you guys to get out here and do something. These Haitians are running into trash cans. They're running into buildings. They flipping cars in the middle of the street. I don't know how, like, y'all can be comfortable with this. Like, I don't know, like, wherever they're at, that's what they're used to, bro. They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them. Like,
yeah, it just, and the guy, basically he's saying this is what they did back home. And so if you're if that's what you're used to, then you come here and you're basically just told, do whatever you want to do. I mean, that's effectively what the Biden-Harris administration has said. Is basically do what you want to do. There's another video. I was trying to figure it out. I wasn't really sure about the video. Somebody sent it to me. I don't remember who. But there's a video, and it's some dude from either Guatemala or El Salvador, and he's saying that all these immigration centers, all of these immigrant centers, they're filled with gang members. They're filled with gang members, and they're talking about how they're going to take over the communities. And if that doesn't worry you, well, obviously, if you're listening to WTN, you understand what's going on with all of these illegal aliens. And the dude is on his TikTok or his whatever the heck it is, and he's speaking in, I'm not sure what language it is, but he's saying that in these shelters, in these immigrant centers, he said, y'all are asleep. I'm pretty sure he didn't say y'all, but he said, you are asleep. Americans are asleep. He says, we are going to take over. It's pretty scary. And we see these stories every single day. And so it is stunning to me that there's anybody out there, Bill Clinton or Oprah Winfrey or any Democrats, that doesn't see what is going on and correlate that to Biden-Harris, and specifically to Kamala Harris as the borders are. But they do. They do say that they'll vote for her. It is absolutely stunning. And if that Haitian story of downtown ducks being decapitated in public and being taken home to cook, or family pets gone missing in Springfield, Ohio, if that's not horrifying enough, wait till you hear what almost happened in New York. That's straight ahead. 6:45 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads. Partly sunny today and a high of 85. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Where right now, John, you got 54 degrees. Is that what you're showing, 54? And gave me a thumbs up. So apparently it's 54 degrees on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there was almost a terror attack. Luckily, the local authorities in New York were able to stop the terror attack. But it was almost, it was about a month away. And they say that this was possibly going to be one of the biggest terror attacks that America had ever seen. This is from CBS News.
Took the FBI working with Canadian law enforcement to identify and apprehend this suspect, who is now accused of plotting to carry out a mass shooting at a Jewish center in Brooklyn, which authorities say he wanted to do just over a month from today.
And this, of course, was an illegal alien.
The suspect's name is Mohammed Shahzeb Khan. He is a 20-year-old Pakistani citizen who lived in Canada. He allegedly began posting on social media in support of ISIS last November and eventually, without his knowledge, began communicating with two undercover law enforcement officers. That's what led them to him. According to Attorney General Merrick Garland, the defendant is alleged to have planned a terrorist attack in New York City around October 7th of this year, with the stated goal of slaughtering, in the name of ISIS, as many Jews as possible.
I mean, it's horrifying. And I guess the question is, and I don't mean to be a Danny Downer on a Monday, but folks, we have a debate tomorrow. And so far, we have a vice president who is in charge of the border, and all of these crazy people have been allowed to come into our country. And roughly half of our country believes that allowing these kinds of people into our country is not a deal breaker. That's the shocking thing. It's not a deal breaker to these folks. How is that even possible? Like, are they just denying that this happened under the Biden-Harris administration? Or are they just don't care? Blue no matter who and doesn't matter why.
October 7th, of course, will mark 1 year since the brutal surprise attack by Hamas on Israeli citizens that left nearly 1,200 people dead. Now, Khan was apprehended just a couple of days ago in Quebec. It's believed he was headed towards the U.S. border. A resident in the area said she saw police officers outside her home put a man in handcuffs on her front lawn.
Thank the Lord that they got him before he actually got here. But here's the thing, is that this is the kind of person that we are allowing into our country. And if not that guy, I mean, luckily they were able to catch this dude. But what about the many that have come into our country illegally that are already here? And most folks that know these kinds of things understand that they're just lying in wait. And you see, that is why you've got so many people that are saying, oh, we trust Donald Trump on the border. Absolutely. We trust Donald Trump on the border. We trust Donald Trump on, law enforcement. The only thing that they look to Kamala Harris as someone that they can trust is on abortion. And that's it. And, the more that you talk about what is going on, not only in our country, but what people are planning to do to our country, it is shocking to me that the media simply refuses to ask her any kinds of questions related to her epic failure on the southern border. I mean, that interview with Dana Bash, it was barely worth watching. It was barely worth watching. But apparently the media doesn't care. Because as David Marcus in Fox News, he wrote a great article, it was like an opinion piece for Fox News. And one of the things that he said, and he is absolutely right, is that the media, those that are covering Kamala Harris, they don't even seem to care that she's not willing to answer questions about the border. All they're willing to do is follow the press releases that Kamala Harris puts out, and none of those really have anything to do with policy, but they'll be all over moments like this.
Oh, come here. What is that about?
Yes.
What is that about? I think you understand.
If you're just joining us,
Oh, it's going to be good. We're going to.
That is a woman who was crying. It was totally staged. A woman who was crying as Kamala Harris walks into a spice shop. This woman crying on cue as Kamala Harris walks in, and they have this long, awkward embrace.
Come here. What is that about?
Walks in, this woman's crying. And the media, they lapped this up. I mean, they did. It was all over the place, and you've got all these cameras, and they've got the lighting just right, and clearly this woman.
Fine. We are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Did you get some spices today? You did? Oh, it's all good. It's all good. We're standing strong.
All they needed was Drew Barrymore.
It's all they needed, man.
Yeah. A Mama Kamala hug. Good Lord.
And people are falling for it, man. That's what I don't get. People are falling for it.
Oh, yeah.
Every day, I lose more and more faith in roughly half the country. It is 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. By the way, if you want to see that video, it is my favorite audio of the day. The video is at my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. Super text line is open at 615-737-9986. And I think the reason why they're doing that is because there is polling out there, and I'll share it with you after the news at 7. There's polling out there that shows that Kamala Harris not doing real well in the momentum department. So says the New York Times. Details straight ahead. Dan Mandis here, and want to tell you about my friends at Zero Res. Now, you know how much I love Zero Res because they keep my carpets insanely clean. I always take advantage of their great deals and special pricing to save money as well. Now, you know, in my house, I use them all the time with the kids and the dogs. I need to call them more often than I'd like to admit. But the great news is that they don't use any harsh chemicals at Zero Res, and that means pure safety for my family. And they have the highest approval rating possible from the Carpet and Rug Institute. Now, that's what I love about Zero Res. When they clean, they don't leave anything behind, just soft and fluffy carpets. Now, when they come to my house, they arrive on time and leave with me as yet another satisfied customer. Now, great deal right now, 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for $119, plus you're going to get a free hallway and $100 off of air duct cleaning when you use promo code FRESH100. Restrictions may apply. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376 for Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It is the right way to clean. 6:53, and Joan Jones has the news at 7. Joan, what's coming up?
Well, a young wrestler was killed over the weekend. His coach is now speaking out. And what the polls are saying about the election one day before the presidential debate. We've got those stories at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
7 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're looking at 53 degrees this morning on the chilly side. We've got the forecast for you and traffic coming up in just a couple of moments. I-65 reopened this morning after a crash near the exit for Rosa Parks Boulevard involving a pedestrian caused the closure of that roadway overnight. Metro Nashville police say that a man was seen jumping out of a parked car in the northbound lanes. He then jumped over the median where he was struck by another car in the southbound lanes. The investigation is still underway. A 16-year-old student at Tullahoma High School was struck and killed in a traffic accident over the weekend. Now, we don't have very many details about the accident that took Brody Miner's life, but many students gathered over the weekend to remember Brody, and he was also a noted wrestler. His coach told Channel 2 that he'll certainly be missed.
Whatever he did 100%. And so he would just say random things that would make people laugh, and it would get people fired up. It would sometimes ease the tension, and so you need those type of people in your life, I think.
Counselors will be on hand at that school today. To politics, the race for the White House may be tighter than ever ahead of the ABC News presidential debate in Philadelphia tomorrow night.
A new poll shows a tight race. Trump at 48% among likely voters. Harris at 47%, well within the margin of error. But Trump's approval rating is higher than during his previous two campaigns. And the poll shows likely voters view Trump as closer to the political center than Harris. 47% say Harris is too liberal, but only 32% say Trump is too conservative.
That's ABC's Christiane Cordero. Miami police launching an investigation after Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was detained by officers Sunday. He was handcuffed outside the Hard Rock Stadium for an alleged driving violation and a verbal altercation with police, and he denies it.
Hill says he's ready to move on.
I want to be able to, use this platform, figure out a way to flip this and, make it a positive on both ends, on my end and then also Miami-Dade.
His agent seemingly baffled.
How things escalated into the situation that they were in handcuffs and being held on the ground with police is mind-boggling to me.
Hill was released in time for the game, and he went on to score.
That's ABC's Andrew Dimbert reporting. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures on the plus side with the Dow futures up 261. S&P futures are gaining 34 and the NASDAQ futures are up by 133 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. We have an accident right now, 24 westbound. This is at the Clay Lick Road overpass. Now, police are saying that 3 or 4 vehicles are involved in this crash, and it looks like it may be there for a while. The accident has 2 lanes blocked. The 2 right lanes are blocked. Again, it's 24 westbound at Clay Lick Road overpass. Be careful in that area. Traffic every 10 minutes. Mornings, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you're doing well, along with Joan Jones and Johnny B. Dan Mandis here. And, man, we got a lot to talk about. Hey, coming up after the news at 7:35, we're going to talk about the latest in the Atlanta school shooting. Or the Georgia school shooting. I got to tell you, the more you find out about the family of this 14-year-old kid, the more horrifying it gets. And so we're going to talk about that again and a whole lot more straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News as that tragic story does continue to unfold. So we're talking, and Joan reported it during the newscast about this New York Times poll showing Donald Trump leading Kamala Harris. Now, remember, this is the New York Times. The reason why this is important is because for the New York Times, they're very left-leaning. So for them, they more than likely had to choke on their own poll. But they do show that Donald Trump is ahead of Kamala Harris by 1 percentage point. That is obviously clearly within the margin of error. When voters are leaning to third-party candidates, Donald Trump ends up 2 points ahead of Kamala Harris. Of course, the battleground states are a different story. It just depends on which poll you believe. But by and large, it is still, in my opinion, too close to call. But the point that I want to make is that it's obvious that for Kamala Harris, all of that joy and the sugar high that was the DNC, that's all gone. That is all gone now. And I'm telling you what, moving forward, especially with tomorrow night being the debate, all eyes are on the debate. Now, I was joking earlier that the left, they're clearly panicked. How panicked is the left? They're so panicked that they're actually walking around the streets of New York begging Taylor Swift to come through and rescue Kamala Harris.
Taylor Swift needs to step forward. She's very influential. She can move an election. Right. She believes in women's reproductive rights and a woman's right to choose. And in democracy, I would say that Taylor Swift, come through, Taylor, be a wasted opportunity if she does not use her platform for good.
That is Don Lemon. And Don Lemon begging Taylor Swift, please, Taylor, come help Kamala Harris. I am wondering, by the way, if Taylor Swift will be the October surprise. More bad news for Harris on the polling front. 538's Nate Silver is now saying that Kamala Harris will lose in a blowout to Donald Trump. He shows Trump ahead in all of the battleground states. But again, this is the guy that got it really wrong big time in 2016 because he basically said that Hillary was going to defeat Donald Trump by incredibly wide margins. And so now he is saying that Trump is going to defeat Kamala Harris by wide margins as well. I don't know who to believe. You don't know who to believe either. I'm just telling you that the polls on this Monday morning are all over the place a day ahead of the big debate that is going to be tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it. I'm telling you that one of the things that I find interesting is that I think that part of what's going on is the Democrat Party and the media, they are starting to hedge their bets on Kamala Harris. And, they're basically sort of downplaying what is going to happen during the debate. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But, she has, there were some headlines out there that I thought were interesting because you had members of the media with headlines like, she is going to be handicapped by the rules from the network. And all I'm going to say is this, is that for me, they're not Donald Trump's rules because they're trying to say, oh, these are Trump's rules. No, they're not. These are the rules and the procedures that Kamala Harris has agreed to. And that's the bottom line. And so you can sit here and complain all you want about the rules, but these are the same rules that Joe Biden had to abide by, and these are the same rules that Donald Trump has to abide by as well. Now, there's some great audio out there, and it is a couple of things. One of them is Tom Cotton, and he was on with Dana Bash, and there's clearly still that anti-Trump bias that is in the media. There was this interview on, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, whenever it was. But you know what they spoke about? They spoke about Dana Bash is asking Tom Cotton about, of all people, Dick Cheney. You can call him Dick. And he is now going out and supporting Kamala Harris. This is how she framed the question.
It's really remarkable that he endorsed a Democrat. What does that tell you about Donald Trump?
It's interesting because you got to put it all in context, right? But that's not something that she does. That's not something that Dana Bash is actually able to do. His daughter, Liz Cheney, ended her political career by going after Donald Trump in what was clearly an anti-Trump mission by Congress. And Nancy Pelosi in the House, this whole committee on January 6th, you had couple of Republicans. One was Adam Kinzinger. The other one was Liz Cheney. And so for, by and large, most Republicans, they felt that was an absolute betrayal, and it was. And so for Dana Bash...
It's really remarkable that he endorsed a Democrat. What does that tell you about Donald Trump?
It's really not remarkable at all, as a matter of fact. It's to be expected. And she went on and she spoke about Dick Cheney's overall record. When he worked with Gerald Ford, he was in Congress, of course, vice president, but she's not understanding. And I think this is part of what gets me so frustrated is that the Republican Party that Dick Cheney was involved with, it's not the same Republican Party as it is now. It's not. Donald Trump came in and he changed the game. And so people like Dick Cheney and George W. Bush, they just don't like it. Bush has come out and he basically is not going to endorse anybody. But Cheney, he's obviously angry because he doesn't like Donald Trump. Trump has called Cheney a warmonger, and we all know about Liz Cheney. Here's more from Tom Cotton when he talks about the endorsements and whether or not they're really important these days. I don't believe that they are. This is what Tom Cotton said.
Well, it was a remarkable time in politics. You have Dick Cheney endorsing a Democrat, and you have a Kennedy endorsing a Republican.
Yep.
I think what it tells us is that there's a lot of ferment in American politics, but in the end, endorsements are not going to make the difference in this race. What's going to make the difference is their records. This is a very unusual presidential election. We have a former president running for office, first time in more than 100 years. People remember that when Donald Trump was in office, prices were low, wages were high, we had peace and stability around the world. Kamala Harris, as vice president, has brought us record high inflation. We have a wide open southern border, and we have war everywhere you turn around the world. So I know that endorsements sometimes make news, but most Americans are going to be making their decisions based on the records of these two candidates. People remember that we had good times with Donald Trump.
Yep.
Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have brought us very bad times.
Yeah, he's right. And he's also right when he talks about how these endorsements, especially Republicans who are endorsing Democrats in this race, like Republicans, again, Dick Cheney, you can call him Dick, and he is supporting Kamala Harris. And so now for the media, this is very exciting for them because it's yet another opportunity for them to report that a Republican is supporting Kamala Harris as they continue their anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-conservative movement that we have been seeing for years and years and years. And I would say to, Dana Bash, when she said, what does that say about Donald Trump, that Dick Cheney is supporting Kamala Harris? I would say, what does that say about Dick Cheney? 7:16, time to check the roads on WTN. $7:16, Nashville's morning news. As far as your weather today, partly sunny, high of 85, 53 now at WTN. Josh Shapiro, we all know. I believe that Josh Shapiro, I think that he went to the Democrat Party, and I believe that he said, you know what, this thing is going to be a crap show, and I don't want to be Kamala Harris's running mate. I believe in my heart of hearts that is what happened. But he was on The View, and this, again, is all about downplaying Kamala Harris's performance. And this is what he said as they were talking about the upcoming debate. This was last week, Josh Shapiro.
As for the debate, listen, as much as we want to criticize Donald Trump, he's a liar, he's all these things. I think you said it before. People know Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. He is a skilled debater. He is a guy who's willing to say anything at any time just to get through a question. And he's a showman. He's been on TV before. Yeah. So don't underestimate Donald Trump.
Wow. Yeah. Don't underestimate Donald Trump. And when he says, you heard it right there, when he says that Donald Trump will say anything to get elected. First of all, if you would like to talk about projection, that is a classic example because Kamala Harris is literally saying anything she can do to get elected. That is so clearly obvious. I mean, we all are familiar with the audio bites of Kamala Harris.
You get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong.
I'm never going to be in favor of a policy that denies people access to public health, public safety, or public education based on their immigrant status.
What is the solution for voters who have jobs and interests in the fossil fuel industry?
Giving the workers an ability to transition.
So now all of a sudden she's running from all of those audio bites. She's running from all of those ideas. So I would say to Josh Shapiro, now I know that you'll be shocked that no one on The View challenged him on this, but anybody who heard that audio bite where he was saying that Donald Trump would say anything to be elected, I would say that if you look at the two candidates, which one is more genuine? And which one is really offering up substantive policy ideas? That is Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris. And she's spoken about basically wanting open borders, defunding the police, taking away your health care, banning fracking, then conveniently seeming to forget all of these progressive policies that she has advocated for in the past. So for Josh Shapiro to say that Donald Trump will say anything to be elected, basically, that is another lie. By the way, speaking about the left trying to downplay the importance of this debate and downplay the ability of Kamala Harris to be able to get through this debate, here's a couple of headlines from New York, just a magazine, New York. Why Kamala Harris is not preparing to knock Trump out of the debate. Politico, why Harris feels she will be handcuffed by the debate rules, and NBC News reporting that Kamala Harris is preparing for volatile moments in this debate against Donald Trump. So it's obvious that these lines are being fed to the media because they're not confident in her ability to get through the debate. So I'm going to tell this to Donald Trump once again, let Kamala Harris speak. Byron Donalds put it best, and he was on over the weekend, all the various channels, where we still don't know what Kamala Harris stands on anything. So, yeah, we need to let her define and talk about what is going on with all of the flip-flopping that she's done. I love what Byron Donalds had to say.
Well, first of all, if the Democrat billionaires are going to drop almost $1 billion in over 60 days, if the press never gets a chance to ask her serious questions because she hides from the media, and then if everybody treats her as if she's a Hollywood starlet as opposed to a serious candidate for the president of the United States, your poll numbers are going to rise. It would happen to anybody in modern politics. But Kamala Harris has been hiding from the press. She's been hiding from scrutiny because if you look at her record, and if you look at what she has supported throughout her entire political life, it is radical, it is dangerous, it is not the recipe for success in the United States of America. Tuesday night's debate might be the only opportunity for the American people to see who the real Kamala Harris is, because she's been hiding from everybody.
Yeah, and one of the things that they brought up, now this interview was done before the New York Times poll came out, and the 538 poll. But to his point, watching football this weekend, there were a ton of commercials from Harris talking about how she wants to end the division in America and the rest of that nonsense. And to be honest, she's got $404 million to spend. And so that's what she's doing. Partly, she's dumping a lot of that money into the sports games, whether it's whatever they've got going on right now. You've got baseball and you've got football. So there's a lot of Kamala Harris out there. We'll have to see if the American people actually buy what she's trying to sell. And yes, all eyes on the debate tomorrow night. It is 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news at 7:30?
Well, the search resumes for the man who was taking shots at cars driving down a Kentucky interstate over the weekend. And what's old is new again in Hollywood. We'll have those stories at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 7:22, Nashville's Morning News. And coming up, the latest on the Georgia school shooting. And we're going to find out more of the dysfunction from this kid's family. I mean, the more you read, the worse it gets. And I've got the latest coming up on Nashville's Morning News. By the way, the Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Great news for homeowners. Mortgage rates are going down. Now, my friends at Loan Pronto, they've got rates that start with a 4. This is the best rate in years. Now, listen, if your current rate is over 6%, you can dump it and lower your house payment big time with my friends at Loan Pronto. They've locked in folks recently with a 4.99% APR. So whether you got your loan last week, last month, or last year, it is time to call my friends at Loan Pronto. Even if you're in the process with another lender, stop right now and call Loan Pronto and ask about their zero-cost rate reduction home loan. You can lock in a lower rate with no closing costs in a matter of days with almost no paperwork and usually no appraisal. And if you act right now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. So call them right now. Loan Pronto can give you a rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call them, Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. As always, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-499-5780 for Loan Pronto. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good morning. It's 7:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It's 53 degrees now, and you know all that nice cool weather we've had? Well, it's over. We've got the forecast coming up for you in just a couple of moments. The manhunt for the alleged shooter along Interstate 75 in Kentucky resumes this morning.
They say that this was not road rage. They say that it was something that was calculated and planned, but the victims have been random. He's abandoned his weapon. It appears that he's abandoned his car. And now he's in this really rugged, remote terrain, and we don't really know that he has many resources. Also, this makes the search hard as well. They said Saturday night they went until about 3 a.m, but ultimately had to call it off because, frankly, it was just so dark out there that it wasn't safe.
That's ABC's Alex Prisse. Now, 12 vehicles were struck, 5 people wounded. All of them are expected to be okay. The local search for a missing Nashville woman continues. 23-year-old Blanca Oriana was last seen August 18th, leaving her apartment on Old Hickory Boulevard in Antioch. She was supposed to be headed to Murfreesboro to visit her stepfather. Blanca is 5'2", weighs 120 pounds with brown eyes and brown hair. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. Beetlejuice opened at the top of the box office over the weekend.
My mom grew up here, that old house on the hill.
Wait, the ghost house? Is your mom Lydia Dietz?
Unfortunately.
She's a legend.
The sequel to Tim Burton's 1988 horror comedy brought in $110 million. Deadpool and Wolverine placed second. And then Reagan, the Dennis Quaid-led biopic about the 40th U.S. president, that continues to beat expectations, climbing the ranks to third place in its second weekend. That's the latest news, traffic and weather coming up. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 7:32, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Some things are just better together. For example, how great would it be if you could get all your favorite streaming apps and internet together? Now, Xfinity, they can make that happen with Xfinity Stream Saver. When you add Xfinity Stream Saver to your internet, you get Apple TV Plus, you get Netflix, you get Peacock, all for one low price. And right now, through September 22nd, you get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for just $30 a month for 12 months. With a 1-year contract. And Wi-Fi equipment is included. Plus, you can add the Stream Saver for just $15 a month. That's a whole lot of entertainment for your money, all on the network built for streaming. Find them online. It's Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Xfinity, bring on the good stuff. Restrictions do apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Stream Saver requires Xfinity Internet or TV, and price is subject to change.
Big problem this morning on 24 westbound. This is at Clay Lick Road overpass. It's an accident. 3 or 4 vehicles are involved in this accident this morning, and it's stop and go traffic from Old Hickory Boulevard north. That's exit 40. So we've got traffic stop and go from that point all the way through the Clay Lick overpass. Be careful this morning. That'll take you a while to get through it. Traffic every 10 minutes, mornings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
.737 Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends for a Monday, September 9th. Big debate tomorrow night. But you know what's interesting is I was out and about this weekend. A lot of people talking about, of course, the shooting in Georgia, the school shooting in Georgia. Now, Friday, Joan, Johnny, and I, we spoke quite a bit about the family of Colt Gray. And I will tell you, the 14-year-old who did this heinous act of shooting and killing 4 people, a bunch more injured. And we've been finding out about how wretched this kid's home life was. And one of the things that I noticed is because people, they see me, they recognize me, and they engage me in conversation, which is all fine, well, and good. So a couple of people, they actually said that they understood when Johnny, you and I and Joan, we were talking about this on Friday, where I was trying really hard not to feel sorry for this 14-year-old, despite the fact that his family life was clearly, I don't even know how to describe it. His family life is tragic. Now, we found out on the last couple of days of last week that his father, even though the FBI came over to the house and said that they suspected that Colt may have been posting about school shootings, that the father said, "I'll take the guns away. I don't believe that it was him, but if it was him, I'm going to be really angry, but I'm going to take the guns away just in case." And then he gave him a gun for Christmas. So now we know that the father has been arrested along with Colt. The grandfather of Colt Gray and the father of Colt Gray's father is now calling for the death penalty of his son.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa.
The grandfather of Georgia high school shooting suspect Colt Gray calls for the 14-year-old's father to face the death penalty for spurring him to commit mass murder. They say, and this is the story from the Daily Mail, the evil father of Georgia school shooting suspect Colt Gray deserves to die for turning his son into a mass murderer, the boy's grandfather has said. Colin Gray faces 4 counts of manslaughter and 2 counts of second-degree murder amid claims that he gave his son the AR-15 style rifle used in the massacre at Appalachia High School on Wednesday. Gray's ex-father-in-law said the 14-year-old was driven by his father to do what he did, as it emerged that Cole's grandmother visited the school outside, is it Winder or Winder?
Winder.
Winder, just hours before the shooting to discuss his behavior. Now, we spoke about on Friday, this, where the neighbors of Colt Gray prior to them moving to their current address. They were always running around in dirty clothes. They were always hungry. You look at the social media posts of all of these different members of his family, and clearly this is just one big bag of dysfunction and crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how else to say it. And what really hit not only me, but when we were talking about it on Friday and people heard our conversation, is that it was hard not to feel sorry for the kid. You feel bad for feeling sorry for him because of what he did. And one of the things that I pointed out was that we all have gone through crap. Not all of us have gone through that kind of crap, though. But that doesn't excuse what he did. That doesn't excuse what he did.
No.
Not at all.
No.
So now the question is, all right, so how far do you take this? And, you know, that's up to the courts and everyone to decide. But the other thing that really I thought fascinating is the fact that apparently the mother actually was on the phone with the school 30 minutes before the shooting.
And phone records prove that she was on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They can confirm that. This is now she was somewhere 2 hours away, I think, living with her parents at the time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She was worried that her son was going to do some sort of a shooting based on conversations and what have you. And
he texted her that morning and said, "I'm sorry, Mom." And that's why she called the school.
Did they say why they didn't pull him out of school? I mean, I know that there's some confusion about who, you know, the name. Originally, they came in and they were looking for another name. They mentioned another name that had a name similar to Colt Gray, and there was some confusion there. But I don't know. I don't know why. The school knew who he was. The school knew that he had some problems, and the school understood that there were issues with this boy. As a matter of fact, they had been talking to the family for quite some time.
Yeah.
And they just, it's like between the FBI, Colt Gray's father, and the school missing what they missed, it is stunning that there are people out there now that are screaming about, not to turn this into a gun conversation, but it is stunning that there are still people that are screaming about, you know, gun control and all of these other things when you look at where all of these entities fell down. And they just completely missed the clear signs that this kid was about to snap, and he did snap. And so the takeaway is the same takeaway that we always have, guys, which is that we see the FBI missed another future school shooter. That's number one. Number two, the parents did not do this kid any favors whatsoever. The family was an absolute train wreck. The mother, though, did do the right thing and calling the school and letting the school know that he was apparently going to do something, and that was her suspicion, that he was going to do some sort of a school shooting, and he did. And the school just completely dropped the ball.
Oh, yeah. And too, there's no quick fix to this. You know, everybody starts jumping to gun control. That's a quick fix that isn't a fix at all. Doing this, why are kids going to schools, trying to take out everybody they can, and most of the time themselves included?
Yeah, and I think it's all the things that we talk about.
Yes.
It is, I mean, I always bring up the psychotropic drugs the kids are on. I'm going to bring up lack of good parenting, and you always bring up
big in this case,
bullying and all these other kinds of things. But yeah, I think in this case, Joan, you're absolutely right. I think you look at this, and this kid was looking for help from anywhere he could find help. I mean, the neighbors, the parents, relatives, and everyone let this kid down. And I'm not excusing what he did by any stretch of the imagination, but there are a lot of opportunities to save lives. And all these entities, whether it's the school, the FBI, the parents, relatives, or neighbors, everyone dropped the ball. And so now the question is, how far do they go to punish the parents? The reason why they're going after the father is because the father, knowing his son was disturbed, gave that kid a gun even after the conversation with the FBI. It is absolutely insane. So one of the things I noticed, though, was that in the people that I've spoken to about this, that my reaction, and maybe your reaction too, Joan and Johnny, was that we don't want to feel sorry for him, but we do feel some empathy towards the life that he was unfortunately dealing with at the time. Doesn't excuse what he did.
No.
But I understand that he was going through a lot. But again, we all have our things that we have to get through. And at the end of the day, everybody knows that it is wrong to kill innocent people, regardless of what you're going through. 746 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads. Thank you very much. 746 on Nashville's Morning News. Today, partly sunny and a high of 85 degrees. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Johnny, folks on the Super Text line are mentioning something that you and I had spoken about off the air, and I was going to bring this up during the 8:35 version of the Gang of Three, but people are asking about it. Today would have been Phil Valentine's birthday.
Yes.
And he would have been
65
years old. Yeah. So obviously, you know, it's a day just like every day where we think about and remember our friend Phil Valentine. I mean, to be perfectly honest, not a day goes by, as I've said ad nauseum, not a day goes by where I don't think about Phil. I know, Johnny, you are the same way. I don't know how Phil's family is doing. We just haven't been able to connect. Hopefully they're doing great. I always include them in my prayers. I know a lot of you folks do as well. So Phil Valentine would have been 65 years old today. So.
Yeah. And my wife recently, I guess, talked, and she said that she and the boys are doing as well as can be expected. And Susan still has rough days, and yeah. I understand that. I have days like that myself. I'm still grieving.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right, and we all are. And
yes.
So, as I said, we remember Phil Valentine today and every day. Super text line, as I said, very active today. One thing I do want to clarify that it was Colt Gray's maternal father or grandfather that said that Colt's father should be put to death. So it wasn't Colt's paternal grandfather; it was his maternal grandfather that said that. So just to clarify that. Really interesting, though. One of the things, as you look at this and you look at how this whole thing is playing out, I do wonder if they're going to change, because they said that Colt was going to be charged as an adult. I wonder if, given all of these other circumstances, if they will change that he's going to be tried as an adult at the age of 14. And as we talked about earlier or last week, where in Georgia they do have the death penalty. So I wonder, because we spoke about this.
However, let me, if you don't mind, I'll just interrupt, because the Supreme Court has already said if you've committed a crime before you're 18 years old, you're not eligible for the death penalty.
Oh, okay.
So the judge in his sentencing on, what was that, Thursday, when he was not sentencing, in his
arraignment.
The arraignment, thank you. Said to him, initially he said, that he would be eligible for the death penalty. And then he brought him back into court and said, I made a mistake. You are not eligible for the death penalty.
All right.
So it's life in prison with or without parole.
I wonder if this, okay, so I've got a talk show hosty question, and it's going to be on the super text line. Knowing, because we all had this conversation right when this first happened. Now knowing what we know about Colt Gray's family, from the mother, such an incredible train wreck, to the father, the aunt, I mean, there's just too much to get into. But here's my question. Now knowing what we know about Colt Gray, does that change your opinion of Colt Gray? Like, do you have some empathy or sympathy for him? And does it change your opinion of this 14-year-old kid, given the fact that he had such a dysfunctional family? Because the people that I spoke with over the weekend, I think it's about 3 or 4, they all said the same thing. Really harsh initial reaction, found out about his home life. And the more you realized how many different aspects of this thing we didn't know then, but we now know. Does it maybe change your opinion at all? 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN would like to know from you what you think on the super text line. And it is always open and very active this morning. Thank you. 615-737-9986. 751. You know, the real estate market, it slows down. Mark Spain Real Estate, they can help you in those moments with the guaranteed offer. Now, with that guaranteed offer, there's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Absolutely hassle-free. You know that fall can be a busy time, and trying to sell your home can be overwhelming. With the guaranteed offer, you'll be on the market, you'll get an all-cash offer, and close within days. And the best part of all of that is no stress. Now, one of their clients, Walker, said we had to move fast, and we were worried the process would take too long, and we'd have to spend a lot of money on repairs. Mark Spain gave us an offer in 3 days for over our asking price. Now, at Mark Spain Real Estate, they've got over 12,000 five-star reviews, and you can trust Mark Spain to sell your home fast and for the most money. So call them at 855-299-SOLD or go to markspain.com to find out what your guaranteed offer would be on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing. Again, the super text line, 615-737-9986. It is 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News. And Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news at 8?
Well, a man who went fishing on the Cumberland River stumbled on something he never could have imagined. And enriching uranium in Tennessee? You bet. A deal is closer than ever. Those stories and more at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Boy, did we get a flurry of opinion on that last segment regarding Colt Gray. 4302 says his home life was indeed tragic, but he is 14 years old. He does know right from wrong, so it doesn't change. This person says, my opinion, he should spend the rest of his natural life behind bars. You know, part of the question is that is he able to sort of, I don't know, learn from his mistakes? And would he ultimately be a threat to society? And I don't know. But I got to tell you that for the super text line, there's a lot of people that say that, yeah, you know what? Feel sorry for him. And people, their opinion on Colt Gray has softened the more that we find out about how bad his home life was. But I think a lot of people do still say that he's got to spend the rest of his life behind bars, because you got 4 people who clearly are never coming back. And that impacts families, that impacts friends, and that is just something that he does know right from wrong. And people calling me out saying that I'm a little heartless. I do understand that. Bottom line, though, people do know right from wrong. No matter how bad things are, people know right from wrong. Feel bad for him. Whole situation is terrible. But also, one of the things I hate about this whole thing, it all could have been prevented if the father had not bought that gun for Colt, if the school had heeded the warnings, and if the threat that Colt Gray was. Got a lot more straight ahead on WTN.
Hello there. It's 8 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Our temps are headed back up into the mid-80s again. Stick around for traffic and weather just ahead. Police are picking up the manhunt for Joseph Couch this morning. He's believed to have used an AR-15 to shoot into moving traffic on I-75 in Kentucky over the weekend, hitting 12 cars and injuring 5 people.
They found this silver Toyota RAV4 on a Forest Service access road near the highway and learned that it belonged to this guy, Joseph Couch. And also in the woods, they found an AR-15 style weapon and some fully loaded magazines. They believe that where that AR-15 was is where Couch, now their suspect in this, sat as he shot at cars passing by on the highway.
That's ABC's Alex Pressay. Now, police are saying that the terrain where they believe Couch is hiding is really rough. They say they need machetes to cut through the brush. And there's more information on the shooting at the Georgia high school last week where 4 people were killed.
The suspect's aunt says his mother had called a school counselor the morning of the shooting to warn them about an extreme emergency. The Washington Post first to report that the suspect's mother texted her sister saying she had told the school counselor to go immediately and find her son to check on him. According to the suspect's aunt, the call was made nearly half an hour before the shooting.
That's ABC's Allison Kosick. An SUV was hit by a train on the tracks in Greenbrier yesterday. This happened in the afternoon at Lights Chapel Road rail crossing. Smoky Barn News reports the SUV was pushed. Amazingly, the driver, who was the only person in that car, was not injured. A body's been recovered from the Cumberland River. Metro Nashville police called around 6:30 last night after a man fishing along the banks of the river spotted the body in the area of Cowan and Vashti Streets in East Nashville. Police have not yet identified that body. The town of Oak Ridge, just east of Knoxville, has been named the preferred site for a uranium enrichment facility. Now, this is a $5.5 billion project by the company called Urano, which is expected to hire some 300 workers. Governor Bill Lee said the facility will help the country move forward in energy independence through clean and efficient nuclear power. And Big Lots has filed for bankruptcy, plans to close some of its outlets. The company says it'll continue operations at other locations, though, and then sell itself to a private equity firm. Big Lots said it ran into financial trouble during the COVID crisis, and it's been hit hard by high inflation and high interest rates recently, saying the consumers just aren't spending as much on home and seasonal products. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures this morning are on the bright side. We've got the Dow futures up 268, S&P futures plus 34, and the NASDAQ futures are up 134 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. Joan Jones, WTN News. Couple of accidents now. 24 westbound at Clay Lick Road overpass. That's an accident for vehicles involved, and the right shoulder now is blocked. That'll take you a while to get through, though. 440 eastbound at the Granny White Pike overpass. That's also an accident that has 3 right lanes blocked, and an accident as well on 65 at Louisville Highway. All those to be careful for this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes, mornings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled, opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
806 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open 615-737-9986. A lot to talk about. You know, we do have a debate coming up tomorrow night, and if you want to come join us, you can. It would be great to see you folks out there. It'll be at Scoreboard Cedar Creek in Mount Juliet, and it's going to be a triumphant return for WTN. I love that place. They've got really good mimosas. Now, are mimosas, can you only drink mimosas in the morning, Johnny and Joan, or can I have one at like 3 o'clock when I arrive?
You can have a mimosa any time of the day or night.
This is America, Dan.
Yeah, it's Merca.
It's America.
It is America, and you know what America means? It means that you can have mimosas any time of the day.
Whenever you want.
Mm-hmm. Joan, you going to be there tomorrow night?
I was not planning on going. If I go, I got to hug you.
So, what do I say to that? Johnny, did you see my face?
Yeah.
Like I totally
didn't have
stumped.
to see the face.
It's the reaction I was going for.
You know what? You know what's so funny, Johnny? I actually deserved that because I asked her live on the air if she was going.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And so she hit me back like, you're like Trump, Joan. Like I kind of chided you a little bit, and then you like hit me with a hammer over the head.
Well, the point is, and we were talking about this earlier, you said you're not a hugger. So I think we need to test that out. Johnny and I are going to hug you.
Actually, it's funny you say that, Joan, because no, you're not.
Not going?
All right, moving right on.
Is that what you're telling me?
So the funny thing is, and this goes back, years and years and years. When I first got here, I was clearly like very much not a hugger. It as much these days. I mean, I've gone in for a hug myself actually once or twice.
Wow,
believe it or not, Joan.
Really?
Yes, that's the progress that I've made over the years.
Wow.
So
We're proud of you.
And so Joan, earlier in the broadcast, she put out a hit on yours truly. She's asking people to not only hug me at the event, but so that other people can actually get pictures of it too.
Yeah.
So
and I want to see the pictures.
And Joan wants to see the pictures. So I'll be the guy wishing that I had a big like bubble suit around me, kind of like the Michelin Man.
Yeah.
I want some big cowboy to come up and
Oh, that would be fantastic,
just give you a
Johnny.
big old hug.
Give me a big old hug?
Yeah.
Lasso me with his arms.
Lift you up off the ground.
Sure. Anyway, so that's going to be tomorrow at Scoreboard Cedar Creek, and Brian's broadcast begins there at 3.
What time will you be there?
Since I'm no longer the guy in charge of all this stuff, I probably will be there at 7:59.
And I think you should wear your cowboy hat.
Do you have one?
I do have one, Joan. It's a long and sordid story. There is one of our listeners who is he loves cowboy. He's like a legit cowboy.
Yeah, he's a cowboy.
And for a long time, he said he was going to bring me a cowboy hat, and I just laughed it off. And then he finally brought me a cowboy hat. I walked in at our last event. He plopped the damn thing on my head.
Yeah, he did.
That's awesome.
I loved hanging out with those guys, by the way.
They're a lot of fun.
They were great.
He got me a white cowboy hat, so obviously he thinks that I'm a good guy as opposed to the people that wear cowboy hats that are black, and they're the ones that are, sort of like bandits and that kind of thing, right?
Outlaws.
It's a reflection of the heart.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So anyway, come on out and hug me if you want.
Take pictures.
Hug Johnny. Joan, you accepting hugs on if you come on?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
I'm a hugger.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're huggers.
Yeah.
You're not a hugger, Johnny. Are you a hugger?
Oh, yeah. I like hugging.
John, I've known you 10 years. You've never come in for a hug.
Yeah, I did. We hugged you. We all went out to dinner one time.
Really?
And all of us.
Obviously, it was memorable.
Our wives, we all hugged you in the parking lot. And you, shoulders up, stiffed up.
Shoulders up. Mandis is getting hugged. Well, my wife says that I get, now it's going to sound weird, but I can't go back. I stiffen up. when people hug me.
Now
Okay.
it's going to sound weird.
So, yeah, right?
You know what I mean? Like,
After all
my
the
shoulders
time.
up, and I'm just like, oh.
So actually, I did hug you once before.
Did you?
Yeah. See, again, a really memorable event, obviously.
I think what happens is I block out the hugs.
I think you do too.
Maybe you do. But I experienced your, you do. You get like, ew.
Uncomfortable.
Joan is trying desperately not.
Thank
And it's
you.
okay. Look, it's my body. I stiffen up.
Yeah, you do.
But it's fine. I mean, it's,
You get this funny look on your face. You kind of look down at the ground and stiffen up.
And then as soon as the hug happens, you walk away. Like,
Yes.
Get away as fast as you can.
Hug and run.
And you
That's what
kinda say-
I do, man. I hug and run.
Thanks.
Okay, look, it's not that bad. You guys are making me out to be a little creepy. You're not
creepy. You're quirky.
You're not a lot creepy.
I didn't. What'd you say, Joan?
I said you're not a lot creepy.
So Joan is saying I'm a little creepy. Not a
little
lot,
bit.
but a little creepy.
See, I think you're quirky.
Quirky, that's a good word. That's a good word.
You're
No,
just kind of a quirky guy, a fun quirky.
Well, listen, if somebody wants to hug me, that's fine. I got no problem with it. By the way,
Murphy.
Johnny, I'll need you to be close to me at all times with a handkerchief to bat my forehead because I'll be sweating from all the people coming in and hugging me.
Are you going to ask for hand sanitizer too?
I'll need forehead sanitizer as well.
So I need to be like, you're like James Brown, and I got to come out with a cape and drag you off, and then you run back. And,
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be fun.
Whatever. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We start at 3. I'll probably be there around 4 or 5, be honest with you. Because I like it. I truly do. And Johnny, you've seen me in action.
I have
Actually,
seen you in action.
I love talking to people. Joan,
Yeah,
you're gonna find this. I don't know what it was like in Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia, but the listeners to WTN are the absolute best listeners ever.
I believe that. Totally.
I've met a lot of listeners over the years in Denver and Virginia and Los Angeles and Dallas but the WTN listeners here in Nashville, Tennessee, they're the absolute best.
The most unique radio station I think I've ever worked at.
Oh, that's so cool.
I think so. We're especially by today's standards.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we like to have a lot of fun. So anyway, all that to say, 997WTN.com for more information. It is 8:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 997 WTN. Time to check the roads. All right, 8:15, Nashville's Morning News. And as far as your weather for today, it is going to be partly sunny and a high of 85. By the way, got some tickets to give away. Now, you folks know as much as I love our veterans, I love the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. Every single year, they do this event. It's called the Patriot Awards Dinner, the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards Dinner. I've been a couple of times. Had a great live broadcast there many years ago. And it's going to be on September 11th of 2024. Great stories of veterans and survivors. Now, today, or this year, I should say, their 10-year anniversary. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, it is their 10-year anniversary. I believe it's the 10-year anniversary of the Patriot Awards Dinner as well. And they've got some great speakers. Bernie Carrick is going to be one. Mark Geist is going to be another. If you want to go, call right now. I've got Johnny. Let's do 2 pairs of tickets. 615-737-9986. The phone lines are open. If you want to go, 615-737-WWTN. Great food, outstanding and touching conversation, inspiring a conversation as well. The Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards dinner. And if you want to find out more information, you can find the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project at their website is .org. 8:15 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Want to talk a little bit about divisiveness here in America. Now, real quickly, because there's a lot to talk about. If you have not heard the cringeworthy moment of the day, no, not mine, in that last segment, but actually what happened with Kamala Harris, a totally staged event at this event that she was at a spice shop, and she walks into the spice shop, and there's a woman that is waiting for her. All the cameras are at the ready. And this woman is crying, and they embrace.
Oh, come here. What is that about? What is that about?
So Kamala walks in, and she's, if you watch very closely, she's standing. And it's almost like, and I posted the video to my Twitter feed at Dan Mandis Show. It's almost like Kamala Harris is standing, and then somebody goes, action. Now, you can't hear the action, but she suddenly walks towards the woman.
You understand? I'm pretty sure you know. Oh, it's going to be good. We're going to be good. We're going to be fine.
And they're hugging. The woman is crying, some random woman in Pennsylvania, and Kamala Harris walks up to her. What are you doing? And the woman's just crying.
We're going to be fine. We are all in this together.
I'm just trying to figure out why the woman was crying. Like, that's what I don't know. Like, well, I mean, obviously, the reason why she's crying is because this whole thing was an epically staged event that I don't believe that anybody believes was real.
We are. We're going to be fine. We are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So, I will tell you that if anybody ever comes up to me and starts crying, first thing I'm going to ask is, okay, so why are you crying? Instead of just like going in for a hug and being like, it's okay. Well, you don't know if we're going to be okay because you don't know why she's crying. For all you know, she's got whatever. She's got some tragedy going on. But no, this whole thing is just obviously staged.
Did you get some spices today? You did? Oh, it's all good. It's all good. We're standing strong.
So if you want to see, and part of what they're doing, of course, this is again stage, is they're trying to give her Harris as many human moments as possible. She's not willing to talk about policy. She's not willing to, really talk about where she stands on any given issues, and she's not willing to talk about her flip-flopping. So she's trying to now brand herself as the no division candidate. That's what she's trying to do. And that's, if you watch TV over the weekend, maybe you watch some sports, you'll notice that, her commercials now where she's talking about how we're too divided and she's the one to bring us together and all of these other, at least to me, nonsensical things. Now, the more that you listen to her and the more that you hear what she has to say, the more that you realize that of the two candidates, she is by far the more divisive, at least to me. And so when she's at this particular spice shop, here's the great thing, is she's out there trying to say that she is trying to bring the country together. But this spice shop that she was at, it was an anti-Republican spice shop. I didn't even know there was such a thing. So Republicans, this is what this spice shop in Pittsburgh that Kamala Harris says, oh, we're far too divided and I'm the one to bring us all together. Have you heard about this spice shop? So this is what this spice shop posted on their website. They say Republicans can shop elsewhere. Going forward, we would still be glad to have you as customers, but we're done pretending the Republican Party's embrace of cruelty, racism, COVID lies, climate change denial, and threats to democracy are anything other than the risks they legitimately are. If you need us to pretend that you're not creating the hurt you are creating in order for you to continue to be our customer, I'm sad to say you might be happier elsewhere. And that's where Kamala Harris decides to go so that she can bring us all together. This is something that she said while she was at this particular spice shop.
Look, it's time to turn the page on the divisiveness.
Right, that's what she's now saying. It's time to turn the page on the divisiveness. Now, the Penzies Spices website, they basically, clearly, again, anti-Republican. One of the things that they did a while back is part of their advertisement campaign for their Justice Spice, directed at former President Donald Trump, saying, re-indicted, and it feels so good. Penzies Spices CEO Bill Penzi is no stranger to controversy.
It's time to bring our country together.
Right. Remember that when I tell you that in 2022, he came under fire for renaming Martin Luther King Jr. Day to Republicans Are Racist Weekend. The Spice brand lost about 40,000 subscribers in January of 2022, according to the Penzies Spice's Facebook page for the stunt, but they did not offer any kind of apology. I find it interesting that is where she decided to go to call for unity, is a spice shop that has a record of division that they do. It is 8:21 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. And coming up in the news at 8:30, Joan Jones.
Well, we'll tell you what the Kentucky interstate shooter did on Saturday morning just before the shootings began along an interstate. And Spring Hill residents are under some water restrictions today. That's coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Joan. By the way, tomorrow, of course, as we mentioned, is our big debate party. We're going to watch the debate together, just like we did the first debate. You know who's going to be there? And I'm going to be drinking a lot of it because it is my new favorite coffee, is Space Cowboy Coffee. Now, you know, the last weekend I was on Red Eye Radio all night. Space Cowboy Coffee kept me going all night long. And every single morning, I drink Space Cowboy Coffee to get me through Nashville's morning news. Now, that first cup of coffee is absolutely critical to waking up and feeling great. Dan Mandis, I've tried all kinds of coffees over the years, and now Space Cowboy Coffee. It is incredible. It's rich tasting coffee with signature blends from around the world. Now, if you're a coffee snob like me, give Space Cowboy Coffee a try. My all-time favorite these days. Their blends and single origin coffees are as unique as their name. And if this is the first time that you've heard of Space Cowboy Coffee, it is not going to be the last. It's a new company based in Nashville, and I love that. Great coffee and based right here at home. I've been trying all their different brews, and yes, they are amazing. So check them out at spacecowboycoffee.com and use promo code Dan. You're going to get 10% off on your first purchase. You spend $50 or more, and you get free shipping. Remember, that is promo code Dan to save some money and get some of the best coffee that Nashville has to offer. As a matter of fact, they've got a great espresso blend right now that you really do need to try. You can try them in pods, whole bean, or ground. Space Cowboy Coffee is my new favorite wake-up call. Find them online, spacecowboycoffee.com. Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com. 8:29, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm sorry, Johnny. I was expecting some music there. That's okay, though.
Well.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we're down to the time constraints here, Dan.
It's all good. It's all good. It's 8:29, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to tell you about my friends at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. I'm so honored to continue working with these folks. They are celebrating 10 years of helping and supporting our veterans as they reintegrate into civilian life. You know, so many of our heroes spent years and multiple deployments in the field of battle after 9/11. They do need to be remembered. You know that we do have in a couple of days another 9/11 coming up. Now, let's not obviously forget that day or the very brave heroes that went into battle following 9/11 of 2001. Now, that is what the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project does. That's what they're all about. Remembering those who served as they come back home. They do make a difference in the lives of American heroes and patriots after many years of serving. So, on September 11th and every single day, remember what happened on that day, and also remember the service of those who volunteered to fight in the years that followed. So join me and give today at the Charlie Daniels JourneyHomeProject.org, and never forget.
Good morning. It's 8:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got temps heading back up into the mid-80s once again today. Stick around for the forecast in a couple of moments. The manhunt for Joseph Couch resumes in Kentucky today. Couch is suspected of using an AR-15 in a series of highway shootings along I-75 in Kentucky. Couch served in the National Guard for 4 years. Police say he purchased a gun and about 1,000 rounds of ammunition on Saturday morning just before the shooting began. Kentucky State Policeman spokesperson Scotty Pennington says that the search area is pretty rough.
We went in and searched a very, when you say large area, for walking in a jungle, because that's what you're basically in, it's a large area. I mean, you actually need machetes and everything to get through these thickets of woods.
Investigators found the car and an AR-15 type rifle they believe was used in the shootings near London, Kentucky, injuring 5 people. There are new claims that the mother of the student who killed 4 people at his Georgia high school last week called the school to warn officials about her son. Meantime, the victims were remembered this weekend. ABC's Allison Kosick.
Take a moment of silence.
Outside Atlanta last night, a vigil to remember the 4 lives lost during last week's shooting at Appalachia High School.
This is home.
In attendance, parents like Brian Jones, still shaken after getting a message from his daughter during school last Wednesday.
Text was, "Daddy, there's a shooter. An actual shooter."
She survived, but 2 classmates and 2 teachers did not.
Here in Tennessee, with the return of sunny and hot weather comes another reminder that we really haven't gotten much rain lately. Residents of Spring Hill are now being asked to conserve water, so no watering lawns or washing cars. The Duck River watershed is seeing extreme drought conditions right now when officials say the water supply is inadequate for wildlife. There may be more restrictions on the way later this week if conditions don't improve. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Well, the moment's here just after the opening bell, and it was a bit of a turnaround this morning already. The Dow Jones Industrials are up 247. The S&P 500 index is up 46. The NASDAQ plus 178. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:33, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Stoltz Co. Listen, Stoltz Co., they are the premier pole barn builders here in the state of Tennessee. I've been representing them for years because they do it right. You know, putting up a pole barn from Stoltz Co. could increase the value of your land big time. You can use it as a garage, an event space, an equestrian building, or you can just live in it. We call those barn dominiums. The thing is, pole barns from Stoltz Co., they are flexible and built really well. You could also plan ahead and build your retirement home. Now, a lot of folks, if you live in the city, they can use these barn dominiums as sort of a getaway residence. Bottom line is they're really flexible, and you can pretty much use a pole barn for anything you want to use it for. Now, call them today, 615-622-5992. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out for Stoltzko, 615-622-5992. You can also find them on Instagram and Facebook as well, or at their website, STOLTZCO, Stoltzko.com. .838, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the Gang of Four, brought to you by My Patriot Supply at preparewithmandis.com. Chris Hand is here. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, what's up? Good morning.
Johnny B, Joan Jones as well. I'm Dan.
Where's Jane?
Reporting for duty.
Sorry.
Jane is...
I was debating. I was like, do I come in and be like, Dan, give me a hug, or do I make a Jane joke?
Wait, if you do the hug, I need a picture.
Do you hear what she did to me earlier today? She wants people to come up and hug me at the event and take pictures. That's what I'm dealing with now in mornings.
She's fitting right in.
Oh, yes, she is. And we needed her.
I was going to say that Jane is with Jack Womack.
Oh.
No. I'm just...
Passive-aggressive.
All I'm saying is that life is going really well for Jack Womack now because he got a high flute and weather gig.
Yeah, he did.
And so, because that is, Jack's first love. is weather. And so he went off to do weather for TV station or something. I don't know what it is. But so he's off and what?
Have you ever hugged him?
No.
Okay, I was just asking. It doesn't really matter.
I don't know of anybody that's ever really hugged Jack.
I'm sure his parents did at one point.
Well, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I think some country stars have.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You ever get Jack talking about radio?
Yeah.
He won't stop.
No, he won't.
Wow.
I love Jack Womack. I do. I really like Jack. That dude knows more about radio than anybody I know.
And country music.
You ask him about that really small 5,000 watt daytimer in Spring Hill from 1982, he'll know it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
There.
Yeah, we mean this with all love and respect.
There are a lot of people like that in radio. They can tell you every radio station who worked there, everything about it.
I can't.
I'm not one of those people.
They're the ones that sit on their roof at night and listen to signals skipping over AM radio.
Oh, those people? Yeah. And then, I'll get, every once in a while, I'll get a letter from like New Zealand. Hey, I was, I was on my roof and I had my left hand up and my right leg out and I was able to catch your legal ID. Is this you?
Isn't it crazy?
It's like, oh my God, I want to, send them a gift certificate to go do something somewhere, New Zealand or wherever they might be.
And I always love those people. We had a program director where they've worked at like 40 different radio stations. They've moved all over the country. In fact, they have a U-Haul constantly at the house.
Getting fired is your badge of honor in radio.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Really? Because I don't know if you been fired, Chris?
I have not.
You've never been fired?
I've done a lot of quitting.
Well, there's something to be proud of.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't been fired.
I've done a lot of quitting.
Okay.
Does it count if you were? No, I was fired in Colorado Springs.
Yeah. What'd you do?
My job basically was eliminated. So, I mean, what am I going to do?
So
that's a whole different
It wasn't
thing.
like actionable, something you did
I've
that
never
was
done it.
awful?
I've never done anything to warrant being terminated. My job was, has been, gone away. It'd been evaporated. That happened a couple times.
Yeah.
So, hey, Chris, need some audio, John.
You got it.
Hey, Chris, you have a new neighbor.
Getting to know you.
Casey Anthony is now a Murfreesboroian. How do you say it?
A borough broad.
A borough broad.
A borough broad.
What do you call it? A borough broad. Casey Anthony. Now, Chris, I had to actually remind him who Casey Anthony was or is.
Yeah.
And so,
I started making jokes. I was like, wait a second, didn't she? She's the one that killed those kids, right? Allegedly.
Well, I
just one.
I call her
at the risk of.
Yes, I call her OJ innocent.
OJ innocent.
You know what I mean? Like the jury found her not guilty, so she had a jury of her peers, and all the evidence, and the prosecutors had their chance, and they just didn't present a convincing enough case.
Yeah, it's crazy. So she's in Murfreesboro now. I've heard where she is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll tell you up there.
So back in 2008, for people that don't know, she was accused of killing her little daughter, Kaylee. She was 2. It all started with a 911 call from Casey Anthony's mother, little Kaylee's grandmother. She said that Casey had been missing for about a month. Then she found Casey, but little Kaylee was nowhere to be found. But there was something that was a little suspicious from Casey Anthony's car.
There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
The calls spark a media frenzy and an investigation that takes several twists and turns.
Yeah, I mean, she was, she was accused of lying multiple times on the stand, off the stand, lying to police. She was 22 years old at the time, and now she is 38. Now, she was apparently out partying for a month before she reported that her daughter was actually missing, which just looks a little suspicious. She was proven, again, to have lied multiple times throughout the trial. A jury didn't seem to care, and she was found innocent on most of the charges.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict is to count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
So there you go. She was not guilty on
Getting to know.
all those things. So now she has followed some dude to Murfreesboro.
A married man.
A married man. So the guy, as the story goes, he moved with his wife to Murfreesboro, and then the wife went back to Florida, and then Casey Anthony like swoops in, and now the two are, cozying up together somewhere in the borough.
So she's done a Yoko Ono, basically. This is what Yoko did.
What's that?
John Lennon's wife at the time.
Split up the fam.
She went on a trip, and Yoko Ono came up to the house, and when his wife got back, there's Yoko wearing her gown and John Lennon having breakfast together.
Wow.
So Casey's basically doing the same thing. Waited till the wife went down to Florida and said, hey, I'll just show up at the house.
So people are freaking out now in Murfreesboro because she is there in Murfreesboro. This was I don't know if you were even born yet, Chris, but it was a kind of a big deal.
I don't know if they got the story up there in Canada.
This was Johnny, au contraire. This was a big story, even in Canada.
It was a huge story.
No, I remember the story.
So what are people saying in the greater Murfreesboro area about this, Chris? Like if you see Casey Anthony at Kroger in Murfreesboro, are you going to throw a cantaloupe at her?
No, I'll whip out my phone though. I'll try and get an interview.
Yeah, you're gonna be like a little paparazzi.
Excuse me, I'm a citizen journalist. What do you think?
See, I thought about gosh, do you try to get an interview with her? Because that's always my first inclination. But I mean,
well, if any of you had gone to the Fried Pickle Festival this past weekend, you would have found her there.
She was at the Fried Pickle. Sorry.
She was.
Pickles. No, I'm laughing.
She's a fried pickle herself.
I think. She brought the guy with her.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Feeding each other pickles like arm in arm, that whole thing, like when you're getting married and you have like champagne and do that whole arm thing.
Or, eat the pickle at the same time and then wind up with a kiss. Oh, how romantic.
I don't know, man. I've kissed people who have eaten pickles before and it's pretty gross.
Yes, it is.
I'm just going to say that. Yeah. I'm sorry, Amy. I love you so much. Amy drinks pickle juice.
Oh, no.
She does. She drinks pickle juice.
Is there a reason why?
Because she's being forced to or what?
No, people love pickle juice.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
They do. They actually sell it in the store.
Oh.
Yeah, they sell pickle juice in the store.
You ever do a pickleback after a shot of Jameson?
No.
It's like
I don't even know what a pickleback is.
It's like a chaser of pickle juice.
No. All right.
Chris, sounding like he's
cleanses the palate.
Yeah.
Is like Alcoholics Anonymous, is it included in our benefits, Chris? Maybe we need to find that out.
Free to attend.
All right, Chris, you've got some hilarity here.
Yeah, so have you guys seen the viral video going around? Kamala Harris sounding just hammered, talking about the lids on Starbucks cups. It's been going viral all weekend long. And somebody decided to put the theme to Seinfeld behind it. And it just sounds like poetry.
So you know how those lids are, because this is, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So you know how those lids on those Starbucks cups, they're white, right? And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings if I'm the only woman, and that's kind of it. So I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid. So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid?
Okay.
So that was that conversation.
What? Glad you shared that.
That was well done.
Yes, it
well
was.
produced.
I am convinced that she has a drinking problem.
You know what? The more
agree.
that I hear of Kamala Harris, either the more I think she's drinking or the more I want to start drinking.
And she doesn't want the lid to be white anymore.
So I guess what she's saying is that if she's got like dark shaded lipstick on, then you take a drink of Starbucks, then you've got the big lipstick shade on the cup. And that's kind of gross.
And that's why she doesn't want the white lid anymore.
What difference does it make?
What? You talking to me or her?
Anybody.
I think it's weird. If you're going to wear lipstick, isn't that one of the side things of wearing lipstick? Is you're going to get you're going to get it on
your cup? Yes.
And by the way, just from a practical standpoint, is Starbucks supposed to call Kamala Harris every day to find out what shade of lipstick she's wearing so that they can change the cup lid every day?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, what else do you have?
Sounds a little racist to me.
So
It just the whole thing sounds weird, but I agree with Chris. It's like she's drunk.
Yeah, she's hammered.
Like that's what she sounds like. She sounds like she's hammered.
If you put it through the filter of is she drunk, everything makes a lot more sense.
It does, actually.
Everything. And then I got another piece of audio. Elton John sat down with an interview with Variety. This was, the magazine Variety. And they try to set him up to say something mean about Donald Trump, asking him about Rocket Man and Kim Jong-un. And he doesn't take the bait, surprisingly.
I know that you're not a supporter of Donald Trump's. He loves your music. How did it feel when he took the lyrics to Rocket Man and he used it as a nickname for Kim Jong-un, and then he gave Kim Jong-un
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. I just thought, good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah. Donald's always been a fan of mine, and he's been to my concerts many, many times.
Didn't Elton John sing at his wedding or something?
No, Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh, that's right.
Right. So, I've always been friendly towards him, and I thank him for his support. Yeah, when he did that, I just thought it was hilarious. It made me laugh.
He gave Kim one of your CDs and signed it. That was in one of the books about him, because Kim, I guess, didn't know the song. So,
what's that?
He gave Kim Jong-un the signed CD.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
he never heard of it.
I know, because he hasn't heard of me, Kim Jong-un. Maybe I'd be very surprised if he had. I've never toured North Korea, and I have no intention of doing so. But I thought it was a light moment.
Yeah, there you go. Elton John.
But I love the way the guy tries to set him up. I know you're no fan of Donald Trump. There could be no way that you would like him.
If only everyone who didn't like Donald Trump took that same approach and didn't, the Trump derangement syndrome thing didn't happen. You don't like the guy. You don't like him, but he didn't excoriate him.
No.
If I didn't know any better, I think Elton John's gonna vote for Trump in the upcoming election.
Sounded like it.
I think that'd be funny. And he would never say who he votes for. But you know what? When you're retired, who cares?
Yeah.
He is Elton John uncancelable?
I would imagine.
I think so.
I think the thing that has canceled Elton John as of late is his more recent music. Anyway.
Because Rocket Man was such a hit?
No, Rocket Man was a great song back in the 70s.
Sure, yeah.
But, that and Don't Go Breaking My Heart, nothing he's done today has matched what he did way back when.
Yeah, his best music was in the 70s, I believe.
Yeah.
With the exception of Tiny Dancer, I think I'd agree.
You like Tiny Dancer?
I don't like Tiny Dancer.
Who doesn't like Tiny Dancer?
Oh, come on. Chris, back me up here.
Oh, Chris doesn't know Tiny Dancer.
It's a classic. It's one of my favorites.
You have no idea.
You don't know.
It's a rock and roll classic.
Me and my wife, we argued about whether or not we should dance to that as our first song at the wedding.
I'm sure.
Okay.
All right, what do you got coming up, Chris?
Well, on the show, we're going to talk about what's happening in Ohio. Another story that's been going viral all weekend. Ducks for Trump, cats for Trump, geese for Trump. We'll cover that.
Do you have the audio of the cop rolling up to the woman who's eating the cat?
Well, this is the best part. They said, because they're going to be like, you're racist. How could you do that? Well, here's some body cam footage of a police officer asking a woman if she just ate a cat.
Here, wait. Do you mind if I play it?
All right, let's steal the thunder.
You play, yeah, that's what I'm going to
do. What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it?
It sounds like
no, why'd you kill
the cop sounds like me with my kids.
Did you guys see all this?
Reese's
no, we pulled up and she was just laying there with him.
Did you see her eating it?
Eating it.
She was eating it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You call the Humane Society to see if they'll come pick this cat up. It's deceased.
There you go.
Did you eat that cat? No. This is my kids in chocolate. They have the chocolate all over the face. Like, did you eat that Reese's? No.
We got the fur, the blood in her mouth, and everything else. So was that too much?
It's breakfast time.
Well, they're Haitians, man. Now, do you think they let her finish the cat?
Do you think this wins over the childless cat ladies that have been against J.D. Vance for so long? So we'll get into all these new groups for Trump: cats, geese, and ducks.
Sure.
Plus, what's happening all around the world, or around the country, because of what's happening at our southern border. And Liz Cheney has been on a bunch of news talk shows. She's the biggest Republican endorsement for Kamala Harris.
All right. Aside from her dad, Dick.
Yeah. She also got the Dick stamp of approval.
8:54 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. Window Nation, this is my window company. They put new windows in my downstairs basement studio, bedroom, and kitchen. Now, they look amazing. They're energy efficient as well. Now, this means that you're saving money on the purchase, install, and on your energy bills as well. Now, right now, they've got a great deal. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. Pay nothing and no interest for 2 full years. So remember that great deal. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, pay nothing and no interest for 2 full years. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com.